Okay, hey, no, hell, we'll start. We'll just start right there. Restream's just easy. That's good, like StreamYard. You've got like a set amount of time that you can do as a freebie. Zoom is a goddamn pain in the ass. Like it just is. I mean, Zoom and Twitch do not like each other. You can make them get along, but it like Twitch wants to just throat punch, like 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 Zoom. That's what it wants to do. It's like it wants to throat punch it. It's just like you gotta be like, okay, you guys gotta get along, and it's like all of a sudden you just see Twitch is glowering. And it's like, why are you such a pain in the ass? And Zoom's like, because I'm special, and you can just see
the world likes me.
And Twitch goes, I don't like you, and there's a lot of other people, but you can do it. But Restream is it's friendly across every platform. Right? If I wanted to, I could. I always try to focus on. I focus on Twitch exclusively for live show, like the live show. But I could, if I wanted to, put this on Facebook or YouTube at the same time, and it would be right. But I'm picking Twitch because I enjoy the Twitch culture a lot. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's me. That's my. I'm giving you all my dirty little secrets live on the air there.
Are they listening?
They are. I have to be nice to my Amazon overlords. Okay, that's just the way it goes.
You better, or that package will not arrive in good condition.
That's right. That package will
punch
not
marks
arrive
in the box.
But it's just like also you get no. I had my workers do random things in there. See, I used to work in the shipping industry, so I just know like if you give workers like carte blanche, oh my god, just the weirdest shit you'll ever see. Yeah. There's like one legitimate time we had we actually built a box fort in the middle of one of the cars because we were bored. Right, we just did it, right? It's a giant. It looks like a wall, but if you go in, it's actually someone actually created room so you can go in and just sit down and chill.
So you could hide.
yeah, totally. Well, the thing is, right? The trick to this is once you get to like a certain degree of practice, like that kind of job is not that hard. Like there's a degree of physicality, there's a degree of memorization, but if you get yourself into a certain rhythm with it, it's not a hard job at all. It's just, can you keep up with the line? If you can do that, if you plan it correctly, you can make it look like you don't have to really do very much. Like if you do it correctly, right? So, but the trick is that we live in this world where it's like, well, if you're not moving somewhere, you're not working for us. So I don't completely buy that philosophy either, but this is the world we live in. So the other strategy is out of sight, out of mind. Right? If no one can see you, no one. It's like you don't exist. It's like Chief Wiggum in the Simpsons, chasing Marge and what's her name? They actually turn the lights off. Oh, it's a ghost car. We get these things all the time.
Chief Wiggum's is awesome.
Back in the day, anyway. I don't know about now. Now, the Simpsons is not what we're both old enough.
Oh, back when it started, all the mothers that were. It's just funny to look back on what people freaked out about back in the day. Dungeons and Dragons was horrible, and it was all evil people. And then it was like the Simpsons. All these mothers united, and this is the worst thing on the planet. It's so bad for parents and families. And to think, looking back on it, it seems so calm now compared to South Park, compared to Family Guy and all that stuff. It really seems a little more tame, shall we say.
Well, Family Guy is just a mess of a show. Like, there are some things, like, I won't lie, the funniest thing I've ever seen on that show was Stewie going to the dog, where's my money? That to me was awesome.
Oh, that sounds great, actually.
No, it's great. Like again, the extremes you go to get your $50. I mean, it sounds terrible when but again, when you've been on the other side of that one, it's like, where's my goddamn money, right? Yeah. Right? You understand, Stewie. I'm not saying I condone. You condone what he does exactly.
But you might have thought it.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's the difference. He's the voice coming out that you're quietly in the back of your mind might think. He's just straightforward with it.
Well, no, well, like just because also I just know that like I can't even remember the doc. Brian, there you go. Brian, it like it turned Brian into a total scumbag. So it's hard to feel sympathy for a character like that. So you kind of just want to see his ass kicked anyway, just on principle.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
just
He
me,
needs
though.
a. Oh no, he's definitely got his lovers. It's almost a little bit. It reminds me of Pinky and the Brain, the two of them. Pinky's kind of this. Anyways, I don't even know if you know what Pinky and the Brain is, but it was like
Oh,
an
I love
animated
Pinky and the
series.
Brain.
Oh,
I
okay,
love, I
just a
love
little
Pinky
bit.
and the Brain.
Whenever I
Well,
think of
no, no.
Stewie, I think of Pinky. I mean the Brain.
Yes, doing the Brain. There's definitely a connection there. Although I think the Brain is slightly more insane than Stewie is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right. I actually heard this great theory about Pinky and the Brain that actually the Pinky was the genius and the Brain was the insane one. Because the
Oh.
definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And if you really look at that whole cartoon, then it's the Brain's plan. Every night he tries to take over the world.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes their plans are freaking insane. Right? They're just
Yeah, he wouldn't survive in the corporate world because one of the things they have in the corporate world is fail fast, right? If you can't take over the world, you better fail fast. You're investing too much time. Move on to something else, right?
well, but that's the thing. Like he kind of does fail fast. I mean, it's like back in
Every
the
half hour.
Animaniacs days, he failed inside of 8 minutes.
Yeah,
Right? I
but he comes
mean,
back and does the same thing though.
well, it's like
He's
Wile E. Coyote.
dedicated.
Well, yeah, hey, listen, there's Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. I mean, talk about the
Yeah,
definition of insanity. I mean,
or just hunger.
well, both, right? Both. Because, I mean, look at the immaculate traps the Coyote built over the years. Like, some of that stuff's immaculate. I actually think he should have sued Acme.
Oh,
Some of that shit was defective. Like, some of that shit was just absolutely defective.
at least they should have gave him a user manual.
Yeah, something.
He didn't seem to be doing good by himself. He's like someone trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions. Like, I don't know, just put it all to duct tape and crazy glue.
Well, I still remember like one of my favorite ones. There is the he had rocks left out, and he pulled the lever, and the rocks were stuck. And he got so mad, he was picking at them, and he's like, after a bit, he's like, I got his frustration, but he's like, he actually realized what everybody realized. Why am I doing this? I should just leave this alone. He gets level with this. Like, but I would not like in all seriousness, the Coyote's probably the toughest guy on the planet. Like legit. Like I would not mess with the Coyote. If that dude gets up from like everything. It's like he just runs out of time in the day. It's certainly not because of like the beating he takes. Because
Yeah,
goddamn,
it's not the effort's there, right?
yeah, yeah. You realize eventually that Roadrunner's the dick. I never thought I'd say that, but Roadrunner's the dick. And Coyote's actually the hero of that thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, if he would just be cooked, I mean, are Roadrunners even tasty? Would be the next question. Maybe he should have went after something else, something a little slower.
See, I can't blame the Roadrunner for not being one to eat. That part I understand. But he's also a jerk. Like he's deliberately like done stuff.
Oh, he's taunting. He's a taunter for sure. He's also sticks his tongue out, does his little beep beep, and you see, yeah.
Yeah, like he's a dick, right? He's just a complete dick. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, there are moments in there. It's like, yeah, I'm rooting for the damn Coyote. You're damn right. I can see his effort. You're just an asshole. It's like, I want to see you get yours. You never do. It's like, younger me, it's like, okay, the Roadrunner's cool. Older me, it's like, no, you're just a dick. Like, you are a complete dick. Right?
He must come from a spoiled family or something, some kind of...
Could be from Toronto.
Oh,
he could be from Toronto.
That would do it.
Yeah.
A little different mentality.
Very much so. Very, very much so. So, I mean, you're in Ottawa, right? So, which also has its own unique mentality. Actually, every like Canadian city has its own mentality. It's very
unique. Yes. Yeah. I've lived in Halifax. I've lived in Edmonton. I've lived in obviously Ottawa now. So I've been in a couple different spots. I've lived in small towns, and it's definitely, you feel the flavor of a city when you go there.
Yeah, I don't know if I could live in Ottawa. I just have such a very different mindset than a lot of the people there. I think I would be like pariah in the city.
It's a great multicultural city. It's got its pluses and it's definitely got its minus. There's definitely the government. Everyone will always tell you the government feel to some things, like almost like it's I don't
Oh
want to say the
no,
word.
I that's the thing is I actually think by definition the government tends to ruin everything good. I just like I and that's so I lived in London, Ontario, and I talk about a city with its own flavor. Let me tell you, like they're that definitely, but I still have this. I remember this mall where I grew up with. Now every once in a while I get like this little nostalgia to go back to London. I think just because I grew up there and I had brain damage. I don't know, but when I go there, so this mall I remember when it started, there was a Zellers and a bunch of stores in the mall. Some really cool stuff, some not so cool stuff, but there was a bunch of stuff. Now it's just a giant government structure with like the barber shop I remember back in the day when I was a kid. That's still there, right?
Oh,
Like that
nice.
somehow is the one thing left standing, and the rest of it, the building has been completely taken over by the government. And it's like, damn, man, like damn, like. And that's the thing. And I lived in an Arizona city called Holbrook. Oh, I didn't live it there, but I go there. Holbrook. It's a tiny little town in northern Arizona. The government ate everything. That's the thing. I just noticed like the government, wherever government has such a big sway, it like devours the whole city, right? I think it'd be cool if the government when government's a small part of the city, it's great, it's all right, but when it's the city, like when it feels like it's the city,
Yeah.
it feels so like I don't know, it's like it's definitely not me. I don't think I could live in Ottawa.
One of my favorite stories about, so I was in the shipping receiving world too, like I was a shipping receiving lead at Chapters, which the
Oh
first Chapters
my,
in Canada. So but anyways, there was a couple government workers who would come in, and ladies who would come in and work in the evenings, which were awesome. They came in just for the free books, because you got free books every 3 months. You could get your little receipt. But the one girl
yeah,
told me a story about this filing cabinet that she was just a good worker, right? But there was this filing cabinet in the room. It was just like this mysterious filing cabinet. She wanted to organize it and get it. It's been sitting there for forever. She is not allowed to touch it and fix it, right? You know what I mean? She's it just has to stay there the way it is, because for whatever reason she can't get the rights to do it. She can only do A, B, C, but not D. You know what I mean? And you can sit there and look at something and think, I can help get something done, but you know.
and movie sets have a similar thing. Like if you're not the person to fix it, you're not allowed to touch it.
Yeah,
And there's some I understand some of the logic behind it, but what happens is again, if it gets too big, it becomes too inefficient. And once it becomes inefficient, it's just like, okay, this will never get fixed. Ever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? And that's it. Just because it's not high on the list of priorities.
Yeah, and it's not that someone doesn't have time to do it necessarily either, right? It's just
Yeah.
as you
It,
say. Let's say there's classified documents in there. That would be a good reason why, maybe, unless she was clarified, qualified to do such. But you know what I mean. Like, but if there is reasons why probably it's possible you wouldn't be able to touch something like that.
well, yeah, right. There are those reasons, and then when you go in, you're like, well, what the fuck? Like,
But
like,
that did
like, like
Yeah, but that didn't stop her from sitting there, like, every day. That was her nemesis staring at her that she couldn't get a hold of.
yeah. Then and then the worst thing is when you get a government worker that's bored.
Oh,
Oh boy, because then it's like, well, the system doesn't let me do this, but let's see how much murder I can get away with before someone notices,
yeah.
right? And sometimes the things that can be let go, like just get let go, because there's another little interesting human psychology thing. There's two things. If you come across like this is what you're supposed to do, like this is a normal thing, people will let you do it. Here's the other thing too. If I learned this actually in the shipping and receiving industry, if I go 110% all the time, they're going to expect that 110% pace all
Yeah.
the time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the same in any industry I've ever worked in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You
So
always, the person who's running will always be expected to run, even though someone else might be running slower. You know what I mean? Whether that's intentional or not is a different story. Yeah.
well, I mean, it is a little intentional because what tends to happen is you realize this, like, well, I want to do a good job, but I don't want to kill myself, especially if
Right.
I'm not getting paid enough to do this job, right? And
Right.
so what happens is you figure out where your like 60-70% range is. You have the ability to go faster. You have the ability to go
Sure.
faster, but it's not necessarily about speed, it's about your comfort. Because after all, you're coming in every day to do the job. You running around with like a chicken with your head cut off every day seems stupid, right? And like you eventually come to, hopefully you come to that point. You realize that, hopefully, right? That isn't always the case, mind you. Sometimes, um, there are surprises, right? Some people are running with their chicken, with their heads cut off every day at this job, and you like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? Right? Because I don't know. Like, it's one of those like universal
Yeah.
mysteries. Like, I can't do it. It's like I don't have that kind of energy for this place. So
Right.
there's about working smart too, right? So I get
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
It's different strokes, different folks sometimes too. Like it's just people are just raised differently. Like I worked my butt off in the shipping and receiving. I still have back pain from it to this day. But that was because I came from a poor family, right? I left home in the early 90s with my backpack literally on my shoulder, like almost out of a little bag on my shoulder, and went out west to Edmonton, not knowing where I was even going, with $700 to my name, you know what I mean, and just
oh yeah.
it's go time. I got to
No,
figure out something better than the southern part of Nova Scotia, right?
no, and you know what? There is something to that. But even you, there comes a point too when you realize it's like maybe it took your back getting hurt to do it. Was
Yeah,
I can't
use your
do this.
brain.
Yeah,
Yeah, yep,
yeah, you're right, right.
yep,
So when I started in the shipping industry myself, I realized, they're trying to get everything out of me they possibly
oh yeah,
can. You realize that, but then eventually you realize, wait a minute, if you come across a certain way, and that's the other thing, if you make it the norm, they will accept that that is the norm. Like you just mentioned, it's a condition, it's a preconditioned thing, and once you realize it goes both ways, you have some fun. Because the thing was, I knew that my days I wouldn't ship forever, and I didn't want a bad back, a bad hip, a bad arm, a bad what, like there's so many bumps and bruises in shipping and
yeah,
receiving that people
yeah.
don't
Even that
realize.
even that repetitive twisting is what
Yeah,
probably caused a lot of, because you're constantly, and the worst thing with Chapters was amazing, really cool job at the time. It's my first job in Ottawa, a second job in Ottawa, but it's books are trees. You quickly
yes.
learn that, and when a big rig falls in full of that, you're lifting very heavy boxes
Oh
for
yeah.
a long
No,
period of time. Yeah,
it adds up. Like textbooks are the absolute biggest bitch. Like they by far they're the biggest bricks we all ever left. Like
yeah,
they
yeah. We
really
all
like.
had those in our backpacks over the years. I'm sure going to school and stuff.
Well, like we used to get them every school year too, like from colleges and universities. So I mean, we would let those boxes were heavy. They were 50, 60 pounds, and you
Yep.
do the math on them, right? And then there's like Christmas time where you go, like Christmas time was where I kind of went all out because you just had the just the demand was there. But I also, as I got older and wiser as the years went on, like, I work a little less overtime and a little less overtime because it's not just about the money. It's about like, self care. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you got to figure out where that balance is for you.
yeah.
And once I learned that, it was like, okay, I'm good. And then, eventually you want to do something else. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. I'm launching, like, I do advertising and stuff like that for creatives
Cool.
about their projects, right? I'm a podcaster with a big mouth. I mean, I don't know how many episodes you actually listen to, if you listen
I
to
listen.
any.
Yeah, no, I listened to a couple for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, no, those are
Yeah.
cool. You know what I mean? But the good news is you've got something to say, right? So
Yeah.
a podcast without something to say is, just dead space in a sense. So conversation is golden to stuff like this, which is cool.
Yeah. That's the kind of it, right? So all of what you say is, here, like what your friend has to realize is there's a final rule, right? You can look at the bottom. Yeah, they say you can't do those things, but technically you probably could. And if you did it in a right way, no one would notice. Like no one would actually notice, right? The trick is, and if your friend's listening, she'll be like, "Oh, this is brilliant." You don't fix it all at once. You fix it gradually. Like you do that,
uh,
right? You have to
okay.
do it gradual. Don't do it quickly. And I know some government officials going to listen to this conversation and go, "This is way too devious." But this is how you do it,
I,
right? Right.
I so I after my time, so yeah, I ended up at a contract at Canada Post at one point as well, and it was just mind-boggling to me. Again, I grew up with this very go, 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 go. I got to survive. I got to go, 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 go. This is the world I'm in. It was an interesting change when you get to a place like a Canada Post, which is a Crown corporation now, but it's really, you can still feel the government feel inside there. People aren't working as teams; they're working in their little silos. No offense to them, there were some good people there, and that's not true for everybody. But there is a certain degree of, I'm holding on to this. Don't come near it. Back to the filing cabinet. My filing cabinet. Don't touch it. This is my task.
Yeah, and it's a little strange, right? It's a little strange. But it happens, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you also would see like there would be people like, and this is the other thing too. This is the extreme where it goes the other way. Is you'll have people that are practically like, you're wondering, how did you keep your job? Like, why are you here? Why are you here?
We've all worked with someone like that.
Yeah.
For sure, throughout our lives, and so everybody's not fit for a job, is what I've learned over time too. You know what I mean? And treat everybody with respect, and you just kind of, that they may not be around in a couple, or it's just not. Actually, I remember a girl when I worked at Corel Corporation came in, and she was helping. She was a student, right? So she was doing a co-op thing with us, but you could tell that wasn't going to be her long-term goal to work on software. She was, she already had other plans, so it was just kind of work with her. She was really awesome to work with, because of that mentality, because it brought me down, right? Because I'm always like, go, 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 and she's like, I might in a couple months. This isn't really my thing long term. And it's like, oh, well, that's what makes compliments people sometimes, is you find your yin and the yang back to the kind of Asian.
Yeah, like you were good because you pushed her probably go a little bit more than she would have done on her own, but it was good for you. It's like, it's okay to breathe. It is okay to breathe.
Take a breathe, have a coffee, relax for a couple minutes, and then you can get the engine flying again if you want.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, that's the real secret to this kind of thing is you got to figure out what's right for you. And again, I've been as poor as you. I know it's like to be in go 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 survival mode. I know what that's like. At the same time, I've come to this point, and even now, like, I'm still trying to getting my stuff figured out. I'm not killing myself anymore. Like, I've made that decision in my life that, yeah, I have no problems working hard, but at the same time, I'm 40. I'm approaching 41 years old. I am no longer interested in the idea that I am going to be some battery to be expired in somebody's like engine. No, I'm not going to do that either anymore. Now I'm just going to be like, I'll do a task, I'll do it my pace, my way, and I'll put as much effort into it as you do in training me to do the job. And
Gotcha.
That's it. And if you give me no training, I'm not going to take it seriously, because you obviously didn't either.
You didn't put enough effort in it yourself. Yeah. It's tricky. It's always based on who you're dealing with, what the task is, and if you have a passion for it, it'll always be different. And I think that's why it's important.
Absolutely.
Just like with the comic stuff that I do and things like that. Like, if there's a passion for it, you'll still work for it, even when it gets frustrating and it gets going this way or that way, or let's say an artist isn't doing something the way you want it, but you still got to pay him for it, or what I mean. There can be lots of little caveats like that. But I think life has got me to that point where I'm dealing with all these people, which is awesome. But I finally find this crew that would work with me really well. So, but again, there's different levels to it. One artist works this way, works this at this level. Another one works this way, and you have to learn that this one's going to take a little bit long. There's nothing wrong with that, right? To me, you just got to know so you can get things done.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, the real secret is you kind of understand the work rate with. You also got to understand your own limitations too, right? And that's a tricky one, because some people just assume that you're going to, how do I put this? They're going to assume that you're just always going to do it a certain way, and that's not how this works. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Like, just some days. Like, there are some days when I write, I'll do like 2,000 words. And there are some days I do 500 words. And I realized that, again, as I got older, wiser, I went forward. Right? That's it. Right? That's all I care about. The rest of it, right?
But those could have been an amazing 500 words. That's the way I look at that, right? You know what I mean? Maybe the 2,000 words was kind of stretched out. Like, I've had that with storylines and stuff too, where it's very, very large, and you got to prune it down a bit, or if it's a focused 500 words, it could be amazing.
Oh, that's totally it, right? That's the whole secret of it, is you have this ability to you realize that it's not the amount you do, right? Sometimes it's just that fact that you just do, and that's the important thing. It's not, there's no magic formula. It's again finding out, like, it's that line of I'm doing something today versus I'm being a lazy fucker, right? And you want somewhere in the middle where you're not lazy
Yeah.
all the time, but you're not killing yourself all. Because even with comics, it's fun creating stuff, but I don't know if I'd want to every month be under the pressure to produce the same level of productivity. Again, some months I'll be higher,
Yeah. Yeah.
some months I'll be lower. I think the important thing is just to show up every day and do it, and the rest doesn't really matter that much.
I tell a lot of people when I work with them too, even when I'm training people sometimes, it, it don't look, don't look at this giant staircase. You got to just build everything brick by brick, or take it step by step, right? Because you'll get lost trying to get up the staircase. You know what I mean. Just take it step by step so you can get there. You don't have, again, you don't have to run. You don't have to, just know there's a staircase there, and as you say, you'll get to the top of it if you keep
Yeah,
at it.
yeah. I mean, I think that's one freedom about today is there's no rules, right? All that matters, like their basic rules are you here and you're doing what you're supposed to do. That's it. The rest of it, meh. It's just, I mean, again, maybe I'm silly that way. Maybe I'm just very silly. But
And we're in weird times as well. Like, it's, the last 3 years with COVID and all that. Like, we're in a very different era of mental health in general as a society, and all that stuff. That people are kind of got freaked out over that, and then of course the isolation of working from a home for a lot of people kind of changes a lot.
well, it's also just the life. So I've said this on a few shows. The one thing about COVID that yeah, is true in one real sense, it changed nothing. There's lots of diseases every day that you could risk it coming into contact
Oh,
with. Right, and you never know. Like you could wake up with cancer tomorrow. You could wake up with
hmm
heart disease or diabetes, or like things happen, right, every day, and you have to be cognizant of that fact. Like in that sense, COVID changed nothing, but in another sense, it changed everything because the one thing is people were like kind of left in their own little shells. Like, I'm not gonna make it out of here. Like, I'm just like one day I'm not, like, whether it's COVID, whether it's something else, I'm not gonna be here anymore. So what do I want to do with myself?
yeah.
I think this forced people to, for the first time in a long time, instead of just assuming that I'm gonna be part of this train track taking me wherever the fuck it's gonna take me.
Yeah.
Where do I want to go? What do I want to do?
Yeah, and it's one of those journeys that, especially as you get older, like, as you mentioned, you're in your 40s, and I just hit my 50s. So you start thinking about what happened in the past, and how, again, you only get so much road in front of you, right? As you say,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with it? That's actually why I created Whitefire Comics originally in my 40s, the website, because it was, I'm thinking, well, I have this filing cabinet full of stories and ideas just sitting there my entire life. What the heck am I going to do with that? That's what I enjoy doing. So why not go in and revisit it and try and see what we can do? And then the whole world opened up with all this Kickstarter stuff, and being able to this cloud and being able to work with people online, which was just crazy for a small town kid like myself from Nova Scotia, right? But I stayed up with the trends. You know what I mean? I learned web design and all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely agree with the whole mentality that you have
Yeah.
to, and you have to, if you're working as well, like, in my case, I'm working and then I'm coming home and I'm doing this all the time. It'll eventually burn you out
Oh, absolutely.
if you try and go too fast. If anything, that's what I've learned in the last decade, the last couple of years trying to do Kickstarters. So you have to kind of pace yourself.
Well, yeah, and that's it. Like, yeah, that's the important thing. And you realize, like, I mean, this is the other thing. Like, I mean, it's one of those revelation and points. Like, it's always worked this way. There is no rule saying you have to go 3,000 miles an hour. There's no rule saying that you should
You have
just,
to do 2,000 words. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, there's no such thing. Like, word counts are great. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to have goals, but it's really what it's really about is the discipline to just show up and do your thing. And I keep it really fucking simple sounding. It's not easy every day. I mean, life tends to throw curveballs at you, right?
Yeah,
And you got
yeah.
to kind of like you have to be willing to look at those curveballs and go, well, how do I deal with them and balance it out with everything I'm doing? And that's not always the easiest thing to do.
No, no, it isn't. You get knocked sideways a lot, and you just got to keep running, right? It doesn't, or walking or whatever pace you're going at. But every time you get knocked sideways, don't let it stop you. You have to, there was a point with when I created Whitefire Comics where I was like, do I want to publish comics anymore? Right? Do I want to try and do this or go to Kicks? And I was almost at the point I wasn't going to do it, and then my friend I tried Kickstarter very basic, like just to look at it, what it was, and then my friend Corey, he wanted to get his sister Mercy out there, and I'd helped him with it years before, so I helped him do the first couple issues of that, and then I kind of got sucked in to try it with my stuff. So I kind of got sucked back in through his passion, shall we say?
You're like, I don't know if this is for
Yeah.
me, and then you end up doing it anyway for your buddy, and you're like, what? Yeah, this is for me. What the fuck am
Yeah,
I
this is a
doing?
lot of work, but yes, yeah, yeah. I've spent a lifetime developing the skills, really. You know what I mean? Becoming a web designer, a graphic designer, you know what I mean? Digital web media certificates. I spent all this time. I mean, I could have kept going with just whitefirecomics.com and doing my art, but my art is still developing. That's a journey in itself, as we're talking about pacing, right? You
Yeah.
always keep learning when you're drawing. But when I started working with other people and found out I could work with other people around the world who maybe weren't as that were within a budget range, right? That's an important factor to anything too. You've only got so much budget.
Well,
So
let's see if it was here. Ah, yes. This was my warm up. My warm up piece
oh,
yesterday.
doing a little bit of character design, are we?
Yes, we are.
Sweet.
Well, it's a little homage to Link. I don't know how much of a video game guy you are.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I go all the way back to Pong, my friend. I like to tell. I have my old school gamer shirt somewhere. I should have wore it tonight, but
It's
yeah,
all
I
good,
play
man.
Warzone every night, so I'm a big. Still to this day with my brothers, we're still doing that. So yeah, yeah, Zelda and Link and all that. I played that on the
Yeah.
Game Boys for sure. I don't know if I still have the game, but I even have my old Sega Saturn to my left here.
You
Uh,
get,
you know
oh,
what I mean? So,
see,
and
like
I
the
have a
ultimate.
CRT TV right next to it with all the old.
So I can still play all these old systems. Yeah, I don't have the game wiring. Nope, I got the old school thing.
No, there's the big old glass television that that's gonna break my back even more if I ever have to move the damn thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like wait, you got is it black and white or color?
Oh, it's color. Oh, it's color. Yeah, yeah. It's a
So yeah, the
Sony
beat.
Trinitron. Yeah, they were like the thing, at least in the circle I was in for gaming back in the Sony Trinitron. That's like the best TV screen you can have. Funny thing is, this guy was giving it away. He was going to recycle it, right? A few years ago on Kijiji. I'm like, that's what I need right there. If that thing works, it's coming here.
Does it work?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it works.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It turns on. Yeah. After all that lifting.
Oh yeah, I feel to you like, goddamn, this better be worth it. Then you go play your old system. Nope, it is. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's your favorite old school game?
Ooh, how far back are we going?
We can go back. Okay, it doesn't matter, man.
Man,
This
if we're going back to the Atari days, we're talking Frostbite and Hero, were the two, not the most common ones you would know.
no.
Frostbite was crazy. Oh, it was so hard, but it was like you were an Eskimo on this one side of the screen, and then your family was up here in their little igloos, and then there was these ice flows in between you. It was a lot like Frogger in a sense, but the opposite of Frogger in the sense you didn't have to avoid things; you had to jump on stuff, and they kept getting faster and faster, and they would separate, and one layer would be faster than another one. So the one's going like this, and then another one's going vroom. So you had to jump at very specific time to get across, and then it just got faster and faster and faster. So yeah,
And then eventually you just like, I can't do this anymore.
no,
Ah!
I still have the Frostbite game upstairs, but I don't have an Atari. But yeah,
Nice. No, I'm Nintendo old school.
okay, yep.
So my games from back in that day are Double Dragon.
Oh yeah, we played a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh yep, yep. Good one. I love boxing, so yep.
Yeah, no, everybody likes that game. I love the Wii. I love the Wii version of that was really really good too.
Oh, I don't think I played a Wii once, so I never got into the whole motion thing. Though I do have a Connect with the Xbox. The Connect with the Xbox when they were out. But yeah, I
Yeah,
never
no,
got into Wii.
it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. If you like, it has all the old Punch Out characters just about reimagined, and Mr. Sandman's the final boss
Oh yeah.
the new one. Because let's be honest,
Okay.
He was
He
harder
was.
than Macho. He was harder than Macho Man was.
I couldn't get. Yeah, Sandman was a pain.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
totally harder.
yeah,
Mike Tyson was the monster though in the original Punch Out. Like he just hits you and you go out. It's like
yeah. Don't let an uppercut land.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. I was an asshole. One of my buddies goes, "Hey, I'll play the game." I say, "Here, let's fight." It's like, "What are you gonna do?" It's like, "Let's see if this still works." It's like I still remember the code. Da 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 da
Oh
da da.
yeah. Those
Look
codes.
out!
Yeah,
Here
yeah. The
you
books.
go!
Remember people used to literally buy books full of the codes. Just in. You said up, down, down, left. Right. It's you know what I mean, like, and you'd mess it up by one, and you're like, oh, I just did 30 characters. Not gonna read up, 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 up.
That's
And
right.
hope it was.
It's like, did I get my lives in Contra?
Yeah.
Yes or no? 'Cause it's like no. Three lives. Oh god, that game's hard. So yeah, it was Double Dragon. It was Punch Out. And I was a sucker for Mario 3. I love me some Mario 3.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Mario. The original would have been the original Super Mario. Was it called on the Nintendo? I
Mm-hmm.
think it was like 8-3 or something. I could never get past it. It was the most frustrating thing on the planet. And I could watch my younger foster brothers at the time, and they would just go doop, 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 right across the screen. I'm like, hi. I'm sitting there, clip fall, clip fall. Like, no.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
Yeah,
No!
no,
All
there goes
right,
Mario.
I'm thinking it was 8-2 because 8-3 was easy. 8-3 was an
Okay,
easy level. 8 8
problem.
8-2. 8-2 is probably
Yeah,
the one
there was
for
the
me.
one spot I could just, I was done. Like, I just gave up. That was no more Mario for me.
I know it's okay, man. It's okay. I mean,
It
the game's
still
still there.
brings back terrible memories. Why
Because
did we have to talk about this?
because it ended up going there. I went Mario 3, but you went Mario 1. Mario 1!
I went,
Woohoo!
yeah.
No, it's all good. But when you do beat the game, you get to level 8, like level 8, finally, Princess is actually in that castle. It's like, yeah!
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And what was the name of the big guy with the spikes? It starts
Bowser.
with B. Bowser. Yes. Okay.
Bowser.
Bowser.
No, I remember so Mario 3 and Super Mario World like for the Super Nintendo was the jam now. So now I am not cool enough to get into the PlayStation 5. I don't think I'm ever going to grab one of those. Right?
What? What?
I'm just
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be a Nintendo Switch for me. If I'm gonna do any new
I mean,
system,
they're
it's gonna be
popular.
Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. I have
Oh,
a
they're good.
Donkey Kong shirt. So Donkey Kong Country was really big on the Super Nintendo back in the day.
Yes.
I have a regular Donkey Kong shirt I bought one day. I can't remember. I needed a shirt and I was traveling, and I was actually in an elevator, and this little kid was standing next to me, and I didn't understand what he said. I hear, I'm like, and his dad goes, he likes your shirt. So it's just amazing how the games of our generation, I couldn't believe this young, 6-year-old somehow knew Donkey Kong. But it's also transitional now with all the retro gaming. Like I have one of those retro systems upstairs too. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's also because like games have changed. Like back when you and I started, they were complete games. Like they were complete games. Now you buy a game, you still get a experience. They don't chip you there, but they add stuff to the games much like they can keep adding and editing and growing games. Like I look at something like Mortal Kombat 11. I can't like there's been 11 Mortal Kombat, which is just like
It's hard to
right.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mortal Kombat 11 has been their game of choice for the last. I mean, partially I think the pandemic for 3 years, but also partially they still have tons of content for the game, and it's just good shit. And but that's again the new system is we don't have a complete game. We give you a mostly complete game, and we constantly evolve it.
Right.
Right now, right, but the old games, they're the cool thing about them is they're full experiences on their own, right? And you don't need to buy downloadable content. You could actually just enjoy them. When I play a Mario game, for example, right? They haven't changed that much in the new era because it works. Oh no.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, I was worried about I froze there for a second. So
Uh-oh.
I'm back. Don't worry. No, like, but the
What
thing
the
is,
freeze frames?
the thing is, like when I look at the old games, they still feel they make a new Mario game. They don't change the old formula because it works.
Yeah, yeah. And one of my bosses I actually had when I was at Corel was she was just in love with Mario to this day. It's just funny to it just. Yeah, I just sent her a video this morning of somebody was a TikTok was out there with these people playing the xylophone. These two guys playing the xylophone dressed up like with Mario and the Ouija hats. I just sent that to her this morning, just saying, hey, remember Mario? And I know that she'll react. She also was really good at the Rubik's cube. She could do the Rubik's cube in like 60 seconds. Like, I was like, no, I took the
Nice.
stickers off. I cheated. Come on, I took it apart in the middle with the screwdriver, and that's how I solved the Rubik's cube. I didn't. You
Oh, I knew two or three people that could do. I knew a guy. I knew a Vietnamese family. I remember when I was a kid in London, Ontario. My dad used to have coworkers with this Vietnamese family, so we'd go over there. Well, his younger brothers could solve the Rubik's cube. Like they were just a little older than me. They could solve it in like 5 minutes each. Like they were good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
really,
that's
really
great.
smart. Well, it's like again, it's just different. It's like once you understand the power, the all games are in one sense are the same. They all have a pattern, and once you can see the pattern to the game, you can figure out how to play it and beat it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, the old games, especially the really hard, like the really, 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 really hard games, it was pretty hardcore. There's this one pattern. That's it. That's it. And it's like, didn't get it, you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember staying up 24 hours playing something like Ninja Gaiden. I believe that was on the Nintendo back in the day, the first
Oh,
one of
jeez,
that.
that's a
And that
hard
was
game. Hard game.
once you hit the brick wall on that one, it was and it was so frustrating because then you ran out of lives and you're like, you know what I mean? Unless you had a
What
cheat
they
code to go back to a level, right?
Yeah, no, Ninja. So they made a hard version on the PlayStation, Ninja Gaiden Sigma.
Okay.
Right, it's so hard. The first time you die, you're probably not even gonna know it. You're dead because one of the early things is you get hit with this shuriken, but you don't see it coming. Right, right. You just don't see it
Doesn't
coming.
sound fair. Dang
No,
ninjas.
no, it's not fair. That's the whole point. It's about
What the hell?
So one of the hardest modern games I played was Devil May Cry 3. That was how I got into the Devil May Cry series. Right, it was
Okay.
Devil May.
Okay. Yes. I have heard of those. Yes.
Yes, 3 is super hard. The original version of it is super, super, super hard. It was actually harder than the Japanese version. It's so hard. But so here's the biggest thing they did because they knew you were going to die. You're going to die relatively quickly. Usually by level 3, you're dead. Right? And I'm being generous. Like level 1 is kind of the warm up. You're probably walking through that no problem. Level 2, you're probably dying quite a bit because it's like. So the boss in that is actually here's the real like shitty part. You realize this later. It's actually a regular minion. It's not a boss. It's just a regular
Oh,
minion.
he
It,
surprises the hell out of you.
it's tougher than average, right? It's tougher than what you fought so far. So at the time, it's a boss. You get like about a few levels farther into the game, and then you're fighting 2, 3 of these guys all the time. And you're like, oh my god, this is just a regular boss. Like you just realize that. It's like I feel so like beaten right now.
Inadequate to your
Yeah,
gaming
exactly.
experience.
Yeah. So anyway, right when you die, and you're gonna die. So after you continue a couple times, then they unlock easy. Right? They don't even have an easy mode. This is normal. It's like, no, we're gonna punish
What?
you, and then we're gonna
Yeah.
be a dick, and then
Yeah.
unlock easy for you. Okay, here you go. That pisses me off even more. It's like, fuck you. I'm beating this on normal at least, right?
Yeah.
But I did. It took me about a year and a half.
Oh,
I did.
wow. That's dedication.
Well, it wasn't like an everyday 8 hour deal. It was just like I'd play it once
Every
in a
now and
while.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, every now and
I
then.
can only survive so much of this. It sounds like they might have tried to set you up with a little, oh, yeah, okay, you got past level 1. Look how amazing you are. Then, no, you are not amazing.
Pretty much, I know, like level 3, I had a buddy. He just said, "You can't beat this thing." So I found a little. So here's the thing: there was a spot that left that the beast generally couldn't touch you.
Oh, I
Right?
love those. Yes,
Yes.
yes. Oh yeah.
So I
I've
killed him
used
with
those
just
many times.
yeah. So I killed them with like a pistol. He looked at me at the end like that. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's like I did.
Sitting there for hours, just kind of. He's gonna die eventually. I think I ran out of. I found one of those spots at Ninja Gate, and I think you had so many stars. I think I ran. You'd always be like you'd run out of stars, and you're like, oh no, he's still alive.
One of those big ass things, dude. That you
Yeah.
just you're like, yeah. I can't be touched. No, I have to actually go finish him off. It's like, you bastards, you just wouldn't give me what I needed
Yeah.
to win. But no, yeah. So there's games that are just designed to be deliberately hard even today.
Oh
Although
yeah.
I do generally find they're easier today than what we grew up with. Like they're just a little easier.
I think it depends how you play. So I've kind of switched a number of years ago, probably in about actually the year 2000. I kind of switched to more competitive games. So I was playing the StarCrafts and the uh, well, most people won't know the World of Warcraft, but Warcraft was the strategy game, more like StarCraft than the World of Warcraft, the kind of MMO. So I was playing those a lot. I enjoy competition. I always had played sports and stuff like that, so I totally switched to mentality. Again, as I was getting older, I couldn't play sports as much, so I was like, you need that. I need that little edge. But that was an interesting world to transition into. So I still play things like Warzone now, where you're kind of. I only play online versus modes. I don't even finish story modes anymore. I've just switched. And some people say, how can you do that? How can you compete against these people? And like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't. But it's I enjoy it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
The
Like,
challenge.
though it can be competitive. Like first person shooters, I suck at those. Like I really suck at those. But I'll sometimes just go online just for fun. The amount of
Yeah.
shit talk you hear from people.
Oh, what the kids have to deal with these days. Now,
Yeah. Oh my god.
StarCraft was terrible for this back in the early 2000s. There was a lot of like, it was crazy because you had these bots you could get, and I owned like 30 of them. And this, but because you had to protect your channel, so you had clans in it. So you had your place to hang out. But just jerk people would come into your clan spot. They would let anybody come in, and then they just start spamming you and they'd spam attack you, just spam over and over again, stupid stuff, right? Stupid jerk things. So you had to have bots to protect yourself against that, and then other people would attack with other bots, other channels when you got attacked. So I got attacked by somebody. Now I have to load 20 bots and go attack their channel back. So it wasn't even a video game; it was just jerk people.
Oh,
Just
so I played Magic 2014. One of my buddies didn't handle losing very well. I don't really care if I win or lose, and I just care about having fun,
I want a good
right?
competition. Yeah, I don't care if I lose, as long as it's fair and it's yeah,
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm going a little easy on my friend, but I'm not because I'm not trying to necessarily beat him. But I'm also not like if the opportunity comes my way, I'm taking the win. I'm just not like looking for it
sure,
necessarily, right?
yeah.
So this one guy goes to me after I let this happen. Well, the hell did you do that? Could you be such a bad player? So I looked at him and was like, dude, I'd whip your ass. Like I'll whip your ass like really quick right now. In fact, you want to go? Let's just throw down. Right? Let's just throw down. So I beat him. Like I stomp him. Right? He looked at me afterwards. Okay, I take that back. You're a good player. So why'd you do this? He's my bud. I don't need to beat my bud. I can be
Yeah,
bad on purpose. I don't need to win.
yeah.
It's like I don't understand. It's like it's not always about winning. It's not always
The
about it, right? So
yeah, so again, I grew up on arcades too. So the generation when there you went to, that's what you did in the middle of nowhere is Nova Scotia. Is you went there was a mall. You had to go for on your bikes for a half hour, or you had to walk it in 40, 50 minutes. You'd go to the mall, go to the arcade, spend what little 25 cents you had for a machine. And the big thing was Street Fighter was always lined up. I played Street
oh
Fighter since the beginning. You want to see competition to this day, it's amazing to think that Street Fighter's still going. But if I go online and I played it, like it was free on the Xbox at one point, I just trashed people and they got so mad. I was using
so
Sega and it was just like I was just playing with some people and they're just like I'm just you know what I mean? I gave them a chance. I would even sit there block, do it, jump over them, get around. I wasn't gonna let them kill me, but I mean it's like anyways. So people get frustrated so easy with that stuff. But again, I'm just doing it for fun. I remember my one friend in the arcade. He was playing Street Fighter, and this young kid came in, probably about 8 or 10. Didn't know what he was doing. And he put like my friend's trying to beat the game, right? The kid put in his quarter to fight him, and my friend thought he was gonna just trash him, right? And the kid just sat there and mashed the buttons and
Yep.
beat him. My friend was so mad. He hit the thing, hit the arcade thing, and the panel popped up. I'll never forget that moment because of like, oh, he's gonna get in trouble. So I hit the panel back down, and then we just kind of walked away.
So I got championship competitive level with Street Fighter at one point. Street Fighter, like the Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha, Street like 1, 2, 3 days. I was really good at those games. Really, really good. I ended up in Windsor, Ontario, sparring with the guy that won the tournaments in the Caribbean on a regular basis.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so I got really, really like it wasn't just Street Fighter, like it was any fighting game. At one point, I was so good that I pretty much go and play a fighting game, figure it out relatively quickly, whether it was Street Fighter or Tekken or Virtua Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
Right.
I'd be good. And Mortal Kombat was my weakest game, actually, of the bunch, ironically enough. But
Yeah.
Street Fighter, Tekken, I would like. It got to the point in Tekken, especially. It was Tekken 4, Tekken 5. I can't remember which one it was. No one would fight me. I'd come in.
He had a reputation. There was the same with our street fight. So this one guy was really good with Chung Li, I remember. And it just was a waste of your quarters to try and fight him, but I'd still try. But I mean, you only got so much money. But yeah, he just pop on your head with Chung Li all the time. Like she had this little thing she could do,
Yeah.
and land on your head. And every time you go to do something, he'd be like, "Oh yeah," uppercut from her, and then he would jump and land on your head. He had a system that would it just worked against almost anybody. It was just like, okay, no, we can't beat this.
No, I was the guy. Like I said, I was the guy that's like got really good. Like wasn't just using systems. I just figured out strategies with all these different fighters. So now I could beat a new guy, any new guy coming into the games I could beat, but I just don't have the time anymore, right? So it's just like I sometimes in my head still know what I need to do, like the moveset's there.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have the reflexes anymore.
Oh, yeah. They say it comes and goes. I've been still pretty good, or I'm a sneaky outside the box type person with anything. So I'll spend the time like a lot of people would never use E Honda, for instance, in that game, but I would actually spend some time trying to learn how to use E Honda, and you could surprise a lot of people because you knew something they didn't. Right, a move like he had this huge chop that went down. Well, the range on that was ridiculous in the air as it went. So if you weren't used to fighting them, right, it was, you know what I mean. If I can't beat you one way, I'll usually try and find another way, or I'll try and find some different system to try and get ahead or trying to get into the fight, shall we say.
Actually, it's pretty cool. I think there was a short time because they had this one Turkish wrestler, one of the new characters. I think it was Honda that was one of the only few characters that could actually beat him.
Oh yeah. Oh, people hated that fast hand thing. Oh, why so many people get mad at you could do that on the low level and it would go really quick. And people wouldn't expect it, and they'd jump right into it. It's like
yeah, well no, that was the best part. The best part about Honda, like, was Honda and Chun-Li both, they were great for characters just getting started. Like they were great for characters just like Chun-Li was always good. Like even now, still a great choice. Right? Still a great choice to use.
She's an icon now, really, to a generation of gamers.
Yeah, but she's never sucked it in any game she's been in. And actually, in a couple games, she was too good. There's one game in particular, one Street Fighter version. She was the most broken character in the game. Like she could do everything. It just didn't matter what it was. They gave her this one kick. So the one thing that she wasn't always the best at was anti-air, right? In most games, she's got a decent air attack, but she doesn't really defend the air very well. Well, one game they actually gave her a way to defend against the air. It was unfair. It was just so unfair because she was good at everything. It was just like, oh, they actually had to nerf her. But that's the thing. Like she was always like she has some advanced strategies. But Honda was always great for a beginning fighter, like a button masher. You could button mash with Honda,
and same with a lot of people use Blanca for that too because he had that charge on the ground. They just all of a sudden just like, hey, I jumped into it. Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, you need that. Like good games have like stuff.
different
Yeah,
levels. Yeah. And
yeah,
if you got really good, you could counter that, right? If you were good at the game, you knew how to beat E Honda really. He was
oh
he
yeah.
was weak for some players, good for novice kind of fighting.
Which lately, as you got more advanced into the game, you could figure out like strategies that were good, right? That were good, that were actually doing your thing. And that's the best thing about games, right? Is you're advanced. Like now, I mean, as a gamer, I'm definitely more into quicker games, right? I did play the really long JRPGs myself, or I play like the really short card games like Hearthstone, Shadowverse, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because they're quick, right?
Right.
They're quick. I can still be competitive, but I don't. I'm not. I like as you. I'm older / riser. I want to use my head a little bit more. Like a little
Oh,
player. So
yeah.
when you play like card games, you're using your head. It's basically like glorified
Game of
math.
chess. Yeah.
Yeah, glorified math.
Chess versus checkers.
Yeah, that's it, right? And I like that, right? So that's me. That's totally me. Um, but that's where I'm at. Like doing around. So I still enjoy a long game, but I don't have the time to do it all the time anymore.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of the reason why I got into the online stuff is because if I'm gonna go play gaming and I set a clock, a set time. Let's say I'm gonna spend a couple hours tonight or an hour tomorrow. I know I can play a couple games in an hour and be done, right? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be if the game ends in that time frame, in Warzone or whatever, you can probably fit in 2 games easy and just walk away. There's no investment of, I got to go unlock something else tomorrow, or for me anyways. I know some people get caught up in the whole ecosystem of, I got to go buy this, this new character's out, I got to go buy that, or I have to unlock this by doing all these tasks. I'm like, I'm
I
just
don't
here to
care
shoot
about that.
somebody. Yeah, I enjoy the fact with being 50 and all these like 10-year-olds and teenagers yelling at me when I kill them. It's just so fun. It's like, it's shameful, but it's fun. I got you. I'm not out of the game yet.
Doran Corkum, 10-year-old destroyer. That's,
Yeah.
that's what you are.
But they're all so good. Like they're
Yeah,
all like, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like most of the time, that's what's killing you in a game like that is these like my foster brother's son. It was phenomenal. And he wouldn't
yeah,
understand why I did certain things. Again, it was the chess versus checkers things. I knew I'm not going to be as quick as you, for instance, in some scenarios. So I wouldn't necessarily fight you in this head on. I'm going to move and flank you. I'm going to out strategize you in a sense,
yeah.
draw you into my fire instead of walking into yours. You got the high ground, right? A lot of people in these games, people are shooting down from high ground. They just sit there and think they have to dig in and shoot up, right? So there's a degree of strategy to it. It's silly and it's just fun and release
Oh
of
yeah.
energy.
No, that's the whole point. That's really the whole point. Like you gotta figure out like again, I'm a card game guy. You know what? I like building my own stuff to play against people. It's not always the best
Oh
stuff,
yes, yeah.
but you have that creativity to just like
Oh
I
yeah,
can make you play my game and have
yeah,
fun with you and darts with you because that's
yeah.
that's why I still like Magic. That's why I still like those games.
Oh
It's
yes,
like
yeah.
there's
I've
that
never
art.
played any of those, but yeah, like the Pokemons and the Magic and all that. But yeah, they look extremely intense in the sense of what you have to own, and probably very expensive. Some of the cards seem to get crazy pricey.
Magic, the cards that when we were kids can pay for college education today. Some of them,
Oh geez, wow.
which is amazing, right?
So I had a buddy who worked at, I believe, can't remember the name of the company, but it was the distribution company for Magic and all that in Ontario, if I remember correct, or within a certain region of Ontario, anyways, maybe even Canada. I remember him saying he got me something. We used to play a game called Rassilin back in the day, a card game with little wrestlers and it all takes off in hooligans. But anyways, I'm digressing. So what he didn't play or anything, but the dealers would come in and talk and give him Magic cards that weren't normally available. Like so, he would get these special cards, but he didn't play. He would just put them in a box somewhere, and
But there's some of them are worth some money too. Like some of them are worth
probably,
ridiculous
yeah,
piles of money, right? I've played so at this point, like when you look at a card game like Magic, you're probably looking at to be good, not necessarily like top of the line, but good, right? I play a format called Commander, which is a format that's pretty static. right? Right. I don't necessarily need to buy new cards to keep all the updated toys. Although there are some, obviously, some new cards that are always fun, but you don't necessarily. When you're only looking for one or two cards, it's not as expensive an investment. But the initial cost can break you, right? And then,
Oh, really? Okay. To get
but
your set up to okay.
yeah, once you well, the deck I'm building like probably will cost if I said go all in on it will be about $300, right? That's not small. It's not
Yeah.
as big as
For some
say,
people, that's a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
well, there are decks of Magic that are $2,000, and you're
Right.
like, I don't need to be that.
Are they all random? Like, do they come in like packs? Like in the day, we used to get cards, and you have to collect like 30 cards to get a set, and you randomly get 5 in a set, and you spend all that money.
So they do random packs, yes, but for the format I'm talking about, it's every card from every set all time. So I don't necessarily
Okay.
need every card from every set all time to build these
Yeah. Yeah.
decks. Thank God,
Yeah.
right? But I could, and that's why I said that's the difference between a $200 deck and a $2,000 deck, right? Is what cards you play with. But I can build a good deck I'm happy with for probably about $200-300, right? That I'm happy with, does what I want it to do. It's not going to be anything fancy, right? Again, some people that's insane.
Oh. Uh-oh. We lost the connection. Josh, where are you? I'm in the show by myself. By
Okay, there we go.
myself?
There we
Oh
go.
my God.
So
I've taken over the other side of the screen.
ah,
Oh,
took it back.
you
Took it back.
evil wizard.
That's right. See, you go like
Put me in
that.
my spot. Yeah. Oh.
Uh,
Ah. No. Oh,
oh,
I'm still here.
you are.
Oh,
There you go.
there we go. The power.
Power indeed. So where did you lose me?
We were just talking about the 300 decks again, and
Yeah.
about the fact that you could run with them, and not. I assume the conclusion is that you'd still be able to fight higher level paying players.
Oh,
Uh,
sure,
okay,
absolutely. Now I wouldn't have some of the toys that they
the
had.
fancy stuff, yeah, shiny things.
Yeah, but you don't always need them, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. And you can build a cheap deck too. Like you can build sometimes a $50 deck that can still win, you know, and that's cool.
Yeah, I think that you have to have a starter level that people are, you know, can get in at anything, or it's not a very good gaming system at all. Because then you're. I've always wanted to create a game. By the way, I used to play back in the day Dungeons and Dragons and Cyberpunk and all that stuff. Like again in the middle of Nova Scotia, the southern part of it. I had a small crew of friends who that's what we did against the rebellious world of that stuff back in the day. But I've always thought it'd be fun to create a game like you know what I mean, like that, or almost like Magic or something like that. But I never really understood. Like I understand it, but I never really invested the time to figure it out.
So there's a lot to it, but the essential basics is it's understanding the math of your game,
Hmm.
right? Right. Like for
Just like any
example,
other. Okay. All right.
yeah. Like for I'll just give you an example. So Magic made a card called Ancestral Recall. That's what the card's called, right? So it's pay one to draw three cards. Now let's be honest, that's batshit cheap to draw three cards, right? And they made a card called Time Walk. Pay two, take another turn, which is like one of the strongest things you can do in any game is take an
Okay.
extra turn,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So those costs are absolutely crazy, right? Now, later on, that three card cost is probably 5 mana, which is fair for that cost, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right? That's fair. That's what it should be, right? So what I'm saying is like when you play, so for those people understanding, it's understanding how much something should cost to make a game feel interactive,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Right. That like there's cost and then there's math, right? Like there's the
Yeah.
basic math of okay, I'm trying to reduce someone from 20 life to 0. So I'm doing that. So everything I'm building has to kind of fit. And guess where it gets really complicated, right? Because what's a good card, right? What's a good card? What's a bad card for a creature? right? Right, because you're trying. The goal is 20 damage, so you don't necessarily want to make it 20/20s really easily, right?
Okay.
But you don't want them all to be like 1/1s either, right? Because there's
Yeah.
no variety in a game like that,
Right. Yeah.
right? So, and for those people wondering, it's like 20/20 is 20 power, 20 toughness. I know it sounds really technical, but basically the idea is if can only have to hit you once to kill you, it's not going to be a long game.
Unless for some reason somehow you could counter that, right? With
Yeah,
some kind
yeah,
of
but
agility, so that it's very hard to hit somebody who's really fast. Let's say, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. But you got to think about it in those terms. But either way, a game that's a very like I'm answering you or I'm dead.
yeah. Oh no! Where's Joshua? Help! Send help! I need my host back. I can't do this on my own. I'm only WhitefireComics.com with my Kickstarter, The Forsaken Future, that someone's over here that I can't point to with my fingers because it's reversed. Go to Kickstarter, search for The Forsaken Future. Uh-oh, is he coming back? Did we lose him? Maybe in another dimension somewhere in the multiverse? Hmm, where could he be? I don't know. But maybe we need to get together and form a crew, maybe like in the old Dungeons and Dragons day, and go hunting and find him. We got to save him now, right? We got to get him out of the dark dimension or wherever he's hiding and get him back on the show. So let's see what happens here. I bet you in 5 seconds he's going to appear. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Joshua! Nope. Nope. I can't see him. All right. So that wasn't a very good countdown. I don't know what's happened to him. All I can tell you is you got to back my Kickstarter now. I'm in control. I've got the whole screen now. He doesn't have half of it anymore. You got to do it. I did it for you. I made this all for you. You gotta get in there, figure this out, find out why the future's so dark. What's going on? An apocalyptic event that took out 94% of America. You got to figure it all out and join the fight. Again, you can also go visit whitefirecomics.com. Go see what I got going on there, see some of the future little crumbs I've got for ideas, and also watch some really cool videos, prelude video to the Forsaken Future series. And you can also find the Kickstarter off that page as well. You could do that. But we really need Joshua back. He's got to get here. My fellow Canadian, he's got to get in here. He's got to come back. He could be lost in time. I don't know what we do then. I kind of take over a show, maybe. Maybe we just call it, it's called Josh. Maybe we just call it Doran in and around. Yeah, maybe. No, that didn't bring him back. He's gonna come in here. He's gonna have his magic card. He's gonna lay it on me, and he's just gonna one punch me, and I'm gonna be gone. So you better join my Kickstarter. You better do it now. It's an awesome story, great art, weekly draws, by the way. Every Friday night at 8 o'clock, I'm giving something away to backers to say thank you to you for supporting me. So that's what's going on. So get in there. You got to do it. Oh, he's still not back. Can I share screens? Oh, I have no power to share screens, or I'd share my Kickstarter and show you all the amazing art, like the piece that's over here, done by Ricardo Silva, who also did some of the covers and the interior work for Sister Mercy. Awesome artist. You'll see the world exploding in the top there. We've got my two characters, the two brothers in arms from the Lucky 13, the last surviving shelter from the apocalypse. And they're the last of the North American ways of life, but they have to deal with all these corporations and jerk sci-fi kind of anti-Star Trek type people. Like, they got to survive. They got to do something. They're going to be found, obliterated. Join me for the ride. Again, go back to Kickstarter, search for the Forsaken Future, get on board. Rewards start at $10. $10, you get all 3 PDFs. Goes all the way up. There's sticker sets. There's some really nice looking bookmarks that I'm really, really happy with the way the design turned out on those. We got 3 different covers. One's an exclusive cover, the one that's on this This banner over here is an exclusive cover. And then we've also got 2 other pieces of art. One super amazing one by the talented David Okampa of Commander Rasha, who is this kind of, she's an over the top, literally obsessed person. She suffers from OCD, so she's literally can't stop herself from her tasks of trying to hunt down and destroy the Lucky 13 shelter. Which contains these 2 characters here. The guy with the gun in the front is Christian Caliber. The guy in the back is John Liger, and he's in the dark ace armor. And they're just basically 2 mercs who run around trying to change their way of life in this post-apocalyptic world where everything's been 90% of the population's gone. The North American continent's been devastated, and it's kind of almost like a world that looks like Drew. Oh, I got a message from Joshua. Uh-oh. He'll be right back. He's coming back. He will save us. He's going to do one of those things like what ninjas do, like where you're going to see some smoke kind of go down and smoke will come flying up in the air. And then Joshua's going to appear. It's going to be amazing. Because I have a plan. I can end shows when I'm on the madness and stuff like that. We had a problem where the guy running it was running it for Pops, and he didn't, RJ didn't know how to finish the show. And I've got this power to finish a show called Jazz Hands. I'm not going to use them right now because that would be wrong, because Joshua's on his way back any second. Here we go. I bet he's going to have a coffee. He's going to be all like excited and stuff. You wait. You'll see. And you'll also see the Forsaken Future. Get over to Kickstarter. You better do it. You better. Or check out whitefirecomics.com and see what we're working on. I got some cool stuff in the pipeline that I'm eventually going to get to, depending on over time. I've also got another series called Raquel, but I've got another one called The Butchery, which is just going to be crazy. Basically, my tagline for that is you're either part of society or you're the meat. So, if I ever get that one going, we're going to have some crazy horror stuff going on, and it's going to be like a steampunk combo of stuff. So it should be a pretty cool visual. But we also got that Raquel out there. We're going to be working on issue 2 of that soon. Aja Cerezo did the art for the first one. Phenomenal. The story I wrote for it is really cool. It's all been received very positive. And you can get it actually as an add-on in the Forsaken Future Kickstarter. You can actually get the first issue. And right over here is actually the collector's edition right on my finger of Raquel, signed by Derek Stevens, one of the cover artists, fantasy cover artists. Amazing comic, by the way. And then I've signed it as well. This is a draw this week on my Kickstarter for the Forsaken Future. Be a backer starting at $10, and you get a chance at this. I would value this comic probably at about $30 to $50. I sell the collector's edition for around $20 to $30, depending on currency and stuff and where you're buying from. So to have a signed edition, there'll only ever be 5 of these. I'm going to always own one, and you have a chance to own one of the other 4 just for backing the Forsaken Future. No, he's still not here. I can do these promos all night long. I can also tell you that, this finger in reverse thing is weird. You can see all my Star Wars stuff. I'm a huge collector, a huge fan of Star Wars. You can see we have a limited print card set right there. This is what me and my friend Corey Hardiman worked on years ago when we first started this adventure, and we still got those sets, and I released them slowly over time in my Kickstarter, another Kickstarter add-on. You can see where we all started with our art and stuff, and look at it now and how we've evolved and had the ability to work with all these great people. He also creates a comic series that's hugely successful on Kickstarter called Sister Mercy, worth checking out. And what else do we got in the background? We got a little bit of G.I. Joe over here, and of course the Millennium Falcon, and all this other stuff. Snow Speeder. Oh, that's a ghost trap down here if you follow the finger. Finger power. And now if I put the finger up over here, we got some Transformer stuff, Spawn, lots of good Star Trek stuff. And these posters at the top, if I was to show you to those, I bet you've never seen them before. But they're pretty cool. Oh, he's messaging me again. I shall check. A restart CPU mode. I'll let him know. I'm telling him he can cut out my silliness afterwards or the thing. Hey, we got to have some fun in life, right? You know what I mean? Like that's again, we're talking about gaming on this pass. That's the true purpose of playing a game. That's the true purpose of being creative. Like if you have a creative energy, you have to express it, and you got to, have fun. And that's why I find it crazy when we were talking about trolls and all that in video games, how upset people get when they're playing video games. It's okay to get upset, but you don't need to take it out on other people just because you lost it at a video game, right? Trollers are pretty bad these days. And if they were in the Forsaken Future, they wouldn't last very long. No, sir. Christian Caliber and John Liger would take care of those trolls, slap them around, and send them back underneath their bridge or some kind of portal, maybe to another dimension like the multiverse. What do you do with trolls, right? It's very questionable. Maybe it depends on what the troll's really like. Is he that big of a jerk? I don't know. Maybe he just, is upset he's not underneath his bridge. Put him back under his bridge. It's going to be okay, right? I don't know. You don't know unless you kind of experience it. So, but I'm just excited. I have the full screen. No, you're not going to see jazz hands. They're too powerful. I will not display the jazz hands to you. They're so powerful that they were recorded at the end of Pop's Madness streams, and he now plays them at the end of every show a lot of the times to end the show because they are that strong. Just like Superman was strong, the jazz hands are so powerful. It's a superpower that few have. You can even see commercials now for Subway with Mark Messier, and they ask him at one point, jazz hands? And he denies. He understands the power it takes to wield jazz hands. Mark Messier, Canadian legend in hockey, American legend in hockey, won his cup with Oilers how many times? Quite a few times. Went over, won his cup with the Rangers. He will not do jazz hands. A born leader. He just hasn't had that strength. I don't know what to tell you. I won't use them here. I'm worried. They can go wild. Maybe some wild magic could happen, and maybe they'll turn off the internet, and then you'll all be mad at me. I don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that to happen, right? Everybody wants the internet to work. I won't use the jazz hands. All right, you've convinced me. I'll just run with it. Just run with it, and we'll see what happens. He's still not here. I don't know what to do. I'm running out of ideas. What else can we talk about? Oh yeah, I've got a Kickstarter. The Forsaken Future. Go to Kickstarter and check it out. Join me. Post-apocalyptic world. The cataclysm of 2072 wiped out over 94% of the North American population. And now, a century later, the last remaining fallout shelter, Lucky 13, is at risk. Its inhabitants have lived in fear of being discovered since foreign corporations took over the surface decades ago. These powerful syndicates do not negotiate as they exploit the shattered landscapes using these massive machines called Terra dredges. I've got a piece of art just in by that from Joaco Guerrera, which is really cool. If I had screen sharing ability, I'd show you this piece of art that no one's seen yet, but I don't. And Jazz Hands will not make that happen. All right. As the mindless mega drones trample over anyone's claims to La Land, it is a sobering reminder that Lucky 13 could be next. As the news Titans, two wasteland brothers in arms, act, they will risk it all to forsake their future. They trying to lie, cheat, and steal to protect their refuge. What could possibly go wrong? You'll have to join the series. You'll have to go to Kickstarter, search for the Forsaken Future, and then you can find out what could go wrong. Maybe everything's going to be nice and turn out roses. I probably doubt that. It's a cyberpunk type world. Oh, I can hear him. Yeah, I can hear him. He lives.
Kinda.
I casted a resurrection spell.
Kinda. No, I might disconnect here real quick here. Okay. It again. It's just like it decided to boot me off, man.
Wow. I was telling people about the power of jazz hands, which I didn't want to use to end the show. I've used them before. Yeah. I have this mystical power, and I didn't release them because I was hoping you were going to come back.
No, it's all good, man. I for whatever reason now my camera can't be accessed. This is maybe the downside of your stream, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. I don't fully understand.
It's pretty good with that stuff, but maybe something's wrong with your USB on your system.
I think actually, am I still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what it is the internet decided to go poof, like it kind of poofed and disappeared.
Right.
So as a result, I think what's happening here, and even now my chat overlay is still loading up kind of terribly. So
Oh,
yeah.
because
So
if you go to your settings and you don't see your camera, that means it's not the USB isn't being read by Restream. I've had that problem happen a couple times. It's really
yeah.
bizarre. I literally, are you on Windows 11 by any chance?
No, I'm on 10.
Okay, because I had a couple problems with Windows 11 where I went into streams and like 10 to 15 minutes before, my camera wouldn't work. Like even coming into this one, I had to unplug my camera from my USB hub directly into my computer. I have workarounds now to make it work. It's very strange, but I don't think it's specific to Restream. I had it happen on SteamYard as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of taking a look here. What's going on here? Hold on here.
You just need to get yourself a nice little icon. See that? He's just JP. If I turn my camera off, let me turn my camera off. I'm pretty sure. See? You get a Forsaken Future, dude. John Liger in the background here with his skull in his hand that looks very inspired by the Terminator. Yeah. If I go back on, you get me. Huh? But no jazz hands. None. For the safety of the internet, for your safety at home. And all I ask in return is you support my Kickstarter, The Forsaken Future. That's all. Simple. Spend a couple bucks, support your fellow Canadian, support your fellow North American if you're in the United States. I know the shipping sucks either way. I've been buying some Kickstarters and it's ridiculous how much shipping we have to pay to be able to live together as two harmless countries and share our Kickstarters. But don't forget, if you're seeing the Canadian prices on my Kickstarter and you're in America, the odds are you have probably a good 25% discount off that price because of the Canadian dollar versus the American dollar. So that's one of the advantages you have in buying the Kickstarter from the
Okay,
States.
I'm back. Kind of, sort of.
Sort of, kind of might happen. You angered the internet gods. You must give them an offering. Uh-oh, we lost you again. This is great. I'm taking over a show. It's mine. Woo! Right side of the screen power. Screen power. Everybody raise your arms in the air. I'm in control of the screen. Poor JP is lost in the internet, the infinite world of the Matrix. He's plugged into his chair, but he forgot to do a firmware update. Now his chair don't work no more. Terrible situation. But the world goes on, and so doesn't the Kickstarter, The Forsaken Future. Only for another 20 days. You got to get in there. We're 55% funded. We need your support. It'd be awesome. Oh, I'm alone again. I am the stream. I am the power. Yes, I will babble on for forever to try and get you to support the Forsaken Future on Kickstarter. Or visit whitefirecomics.com. You can see what else I got going on. I got a lot of creative stuff going on. I got this filing cabinet. Well, it's not on screen. It's technically over here off screen, but it's in another room. Wait, can I point? I'm really weird at this mirror thing. Doesn't work for me. Anyway, so Kickstarter is there. I've got tons of ideas. The Forsaken Future, I've been working on it since I was a teenager. It's worth you checking out. The art's amazing. The story's pretty cool. Uh-oh, Joshua's messaging me on Facebook again. Let's see what he wants to do. Maybe we're going to have to end the show. I might have to jazz hand us out of here. As soon as I can find my mouse. Okay. All right. He wants me to end this up with you guys. I'm going to break with the jazz hands in a minute. It's been awesome. If you've checked out this video or heard this podcast, thank you so much. If you stop by and support the Forsaken Future, we appreciate. I appreciate any support, and you're supporting artists all over the place, artists and creators, good friends on the internet. So go to the Forsaken Future on Kickstarter, search for it there, or the links will probably be below, I'm assuming, afterwards to the Kickstarter. And yeah, that's all I can say is forsake the future and jazz hands out. I think I can end this. Boom.
Okay. It looks like I'm back. Yeah, looks like I'm back on the air. What the heck? Weird. Weird, 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 weird. Is the chat accessible? Yeah, chat's accessible again. Camera accessible. My camera is accessible. Come back. Look at this. Yeah, this is just like, holy crap, I fixed it. There we go.
Hear you. I see you.
Ah,
The power of jazz hands has been undone by the powerful Josh.
that's right. That's right. No, I just for whatever reason, like if for whatever reason the internet just went boop, 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 and now I'm back for some more. Well,
It happens. Yeah.
we're gonna do just a little bit more. That's it, because we don't want to tempt this too much longer. So you plugged your comic like based on what I've saw. So it's kind of, but I wanted to ask this before you walked away. So you said you had a ton of stories you wanted to tell.
Yeah.
What stopped you from telling them?
Everything really. It's when you have a creative mind, I find at least someone like mine, like I also come from a creative family. You have a lot of ideas, and over the years, honestly, some of the things in my filing cabinet I've seen kind of come to life in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I go, oh, sometimes I'll watch a movie and go, oh, I had that idea, that little segment, not an idea for a whole movie, but little technologies or whatever. But it's just a lot. It's so much work, right? Kind of like what we talked about before, and pacing yourself and you only have so much influence. And now that the world's opened up, it's a different time. Um, like if you go to whitefirecomics.com and you scroll down, you'll see kind of the videos. Like it takes a lot of work to build up the stuff, but you can see that I'm starting to prelude things like, for instance, the butchery, things like Crucifix, Unholy Lands, and things of that nature. So you can
do stuff like this now. While see that's
yeah, now you're rocking. Look at you
Yeah.
go. Boom. But yeah, so it's really about effort, and where to focus is the hard part for me, because so I did Raquel last year, and it was successfully funded, and so a lot of people told me I should have stuck with Raquel and kept going, but I had unfinished business with the Forsaken Future. I wanted to see if it could take off. Was there interest? And that's what I'm really trying to do right now with Kickstarter, is kind of use it as a gauge to find out, what do people want? Because I want to invest my time in something that people are interested in, right? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And where it's going to get supported. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off anything. I'm just trying to get it out there, if that makes sense.
It does.
And
Yeah.
do a lot. If it makes money, fantastic. But if not, I'm just happy to get the ball rolling, and to get concepts going. Because when you have so many of them, it can become overwhelming. right? You can have so many different directions you can go, and so you could spend a lot of money really quick that you don't, that's not a
Oh
good
yeah.
idea.
Well, I got 3 Kickstarters I'm planning on doing next year. One's a one
Nice.
shot. One's a
Okay.
continuation of a series I'm doing, and one's a brand new like novel series, right?
Cool.
And the novel and the second one. So I did an Alice in Wonderland Greek mythology mashup. Right.
Oh, interesting. I love mythology as well, by the way. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
Alice and Pandora are essentially the same story.
Sure. Pandora's
Right.
like is that back to the Pandora's box type thing?
Yeah. Well, think about it, right? So, oh no, I'm still here. Cool. Think about it. I was just always like, no. I just worry when you freeze. When you freeze, I know it's probably something on my end.
Gotcha.
But so Alice and Pandora are basically what they have in common is their curiosity. The White Rabbit comes out of nowhere, and Alice's just curiosity just falls into the rabbit hole. Right. And Pandora's box, right, for all the good and evil of it, is essentially the same thing. It's that forbidden thing, or that. What is it? What happens?
What is? Yeah.
What is it? What happens? What happens if I follow the rabbit? What happens if I open the box? The difference is the evolution of the story. Alice gets out of the rabbit hole. Like if you really sit there and think about it, Alice gets out of the box.
Sure.
Pandora never leaves it.
Right. Yeah. It's eternal on theory. Yeah. A little bit of CW. Is it C.S. Lewis that did Narnia?
Yeah.
Because they kind of go into that kind of cabinet into the world. They kind of go to this kind of
same thing. Like it's there is a bit of that. Again, that's a different evolution too. It's a different expectation because Narnia doesn't feel like the rabbit hole. Narnia doesn't feel like the Pandora's box in the sense that it's a story. It's actually I would akin like Narnia to the cabinet, right? Is more like a storybook. So when they open the cabinet, they actually get whisked away into a story that's being told all through, and that's what Narnia is. Like Narnia is always like they go whenever whoever comes back in, whenever they come back in, it's a continuation of that story and how that looks like and where it goes. So there's a beginning, middle, and end, and every time we go into Narnia, we get into the big piece of that
world almost.
Yeah. Whereas the rabbit hole is just Wonderland, and Wonderland is Alice's dream, for lack of a better
state,
term.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
can
whether
be.
she's
Can be, right?
Or is it, a trip?
And the same thing with Pandora. Pandora opens the box, right? Are those evils from without or within?
Right. Are they coming? Yeah, I was just about to say, are they flooding out or are you sucked in? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So in my story, Alice opens Pandora's box and gets a certain Cheshire friend inside her head. And then she wakes up in an insane asylum with this voice in her head. And I dig that because it was like, okay, and that's my take on Wonderland. And it's still a dream, but maybe she doesn't ever wake up. Like that's the thing about Greek tragedies, right?
Yeah, my friend who does Sister Mercy. So when I worked with him on that, so the idea of Sister Mercy is she have a mental issue, or is she schizophrenic, or does she literally have the voice of God in her head, right?
Yeah.
As this, you know what I mean? So this kind of conflict of what's going on. Is she really hearing the voice of God, or is this just some kind of mental problem?
Well, I mean, we all wonder, right? Like this idea that we all have this like set path, or this idea of destiny, or this idea of everybody's trying to be alike. Like the fact is, I mean, we have people that are a little crazy in our history, and some of them are very crazy. There's Genghis Khan. I mean, he literally walked off the heads of the skulls of his enemies to invade this thing. It takes a certain degree of psychosis to do something like that.
It's about control at that point.
Yeah.
You need to send a message every time you go over and take over someplace, right? To say, hey, I'm in charge, or else.
Again, you get the logic behind it somewhat, but at the same time, it's like
it takes a lot to do it.
Yeah, it's a certain sadism that just not everybody has.
I remember
right?
seeing, and this is maybe going to a dark place, but I don't even know. Well, that there was that guy who was killing people a while ago, and they caught him in Germany. I can't remember, but they psychologists said that he probably started out with killing small animals when he was younger, and then just evolved up to killing humans. You know what I mean? It's like, but
Wait,
that's what happens when you maybe Genghis Khan got so used to killing people. It's like, you're not gonna have a sandwich today. Oh, I gotta go kill someone up.
well, yeah, because also when you're running an empire, you got to be the baddest man on the planet. Like it's
Yeah,
actually true of your
yeah.
like we look at companies today. That mentality's still there. It's just there on such a like I don't want to get too political, but one of the things that scares me, but a lot of people love the idea of universal basic income. But I'm always a little worried about it, not because I don't think the idea is a bad one, but I'm just like I know the people we have in charge. I've seen their ruthlessness. I've seen it this year. Is that the person you want to have that kind of control over everybody? My gut says no. That's probably a terrible idea, right? Right? Not like, and then again, it's not that I'm against the idea of a universal basic income. It's the fact that it's like, who's going to do it? Right? How did these people get into these positions of power? Like, I don't have this. Again, I don't really care what party you go with. I don't think they're nice people because nothing indicates that nothing I've seen indicates they are.
Yeah, the only person I've ever can say right now in modern times where I'd go, I think he's a nice person, is Elon Musk. Like he seems like he's trying to solve world problems, and I don't know if that's true or not. I just know what I perceive.
No,
Right?
no, that's fair. That's fair. I look at it like this. This is what I look at, right? And this is how I see it. Musk has got his own skeletons in his closet. If you look at him close enough, you'll find them. Like that's just the way it is, right? But it doesn't like it also. I mean, something I realized too is that like this is the other thing is are these people the systems of power in play? How much are they a reflection of the person, and how much of it at this point is the person just trying to make it work? And that's right. Like, let's be honest. You live in Ottawa. You've seen this for yourself. There's a bell curve on everything, right? And government, especially, it's like you were in the post office. You know some of the people you dealt with there. Mail still got delivered on time. Now, some of those people, you're not quite entirely sure if they understand the concept of up and down. You just don't know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And there were stories even when I was there. So I was working in the head office. Like I had to work with some of the union members. They were telling me stories of people who literally every day were crying from delivering the mail because it was so hard. It's hard to do sometimes. You know what I mean? And again, that has to do with the political kind of what you're saying. This tier of can I trust the person above me? That unions have that type of problems as well.
No, it doesn't matter, right? Like you look at it, you're just like, this is just a giant mess.
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
Right?
It's tricky, and what I can't remember the saying. Power corrupts absolutely.
There's absolute power corrupts absolutely, but I actually I like an Abraham Lincoln quote. How do you test a man's character? You give him power.
Right. Yes.
I love that because it's true. Because power isn't necessarily corrupt; it reveals.
Yeah,
and,
true.
Right.
Your character gets questioned a lot.
Oh no, absolutely. Power reveals. Like I said, now based on the character I've seen in Canada, especially this year, I wouldn't necessarily trust the current government to tie their shoes. As such, and by the way, it's not just any one; it's all of them. That's just my right. That's just based. And it's based on a very, very specific criteria I have. And none of them, as far as I can tell, hit it. And by the way, my criteria is two things. Will my leaders talk to their own people? And number two, do I think my leaders have integrity? The answer to both of those questions, from what I can tell, is no. So
it's one of those things. I don't know how you judge it. I'm one of those people who I don't even know.
That's fair. But I can only go by I keep it simple. But those are the two things I basically look at. The only two things I can look at is how do you treat people who are not in your position, and that's it. That's all I can measure, right? I don't expect to have a perfect system. It doesn't exist.
No.
Right. But what I can expect is, can the person I am dealing with, would you see them talk to anybody else? Right. And this year, the answer to that question for me was almost a resounding no. So it was just like, if that's the resounding no, then how am I going to trust these people to deal with my future? Right? Because if they're not going to be willing to talk to me about it, then why the hell would I think my best interest is being hit? And that sounds like a very simplified way of looking at it, but that's what I got, you know?
Yeah. And we all have our different views for sure on that stuff, but they have so many people speaking in their ears too. Like there's so many people trying to control the narrative, and as they say, and things like, so you don't know how influenced they are. Like look in the States with guns, you know what I mean? Like you see some of the pleas with for the people but the NRA is just so baked into politics and controlling certain people. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's more complicated than that. There, I've lived in the States, so I kind of know. So there's two or three different things. The NRA is part of it, yes, but I also think it's like that particular problem. Here's the thing about that one, and this is the thing. Like I remember back in the Columbine days, because I was still a teenager when that happened, and they were talking about then the AR rifle, and at that time, that rifle had been in existence for 30 years, or very close to 30 years, 30, 40 years. That rifle's been in existence for 75 years now, right? For me, it's the idea of getting the toothpaste back into the container.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can actually do that anymore.
The other factor to it is I get that the society is very loves their guns. I get it. I've seen it. I have friends in the States who it's like, well, what are we going to do today? I got my guns. I'm going to go shoot them at the range. And it's very embaked. I have a friend in Nova Scotia who was doing it for a while. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And one of my managers actually one of our fun days was going to a gun range. So I get that there's a degree of baked in society of people who.
When I lived in Arizona, one of the things about getting used to it too is like people openly carried down there. A lot of people openly carried. None of those people, by the way, I'm just saying this, for the vast majority of them, it's just another tool. Like it's not.
It's like having a carpenter beam hammer. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all it is. So once you're used, like I was always more scared of the security guard at the airport with the semi-automatic myself. Again, because of that bell curve thing we were talking about. Like that worries me more than like honestly. But again, not to they have there's such a business aspect to it, but there's also, I get it, like they don't trust their government down there, and I can't exactly blame them for that either. So I don't like, there's not a clean solution to that problem, like there really isn't. And if you make a law that makes it harder to get, that's a great half step. But they also have so many guns in existence with like that model has been in existence for so long now.
Yeah.
I don't think you stop anything for at least 20 years. Right.
Well, even here in Canada, like we just had that again, we're going to the kind of a dark spots, but we just had that attack in Saskatchewan. I didn't watch everything on it, but that guy just had a knife.
Yeah.
Right. And if someone wants to kill somebody and they're going to have a degree of success.
Yeah. And I mean, there's other things to look at too. Like, okay, like what pharmaceutical drugs are they on when they're doing these things?
Society.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. Like there's a lot to these kind of problems. A lot of things that people aren't necessarily comfortable looking at. You have to look at the whole picture if you're going to fix it. What I've concluded, and this is just my take, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, this is just my take. It's this. Every system in place right now seems to be on some level designed to exploit people. And I think our problem is we've accepted it. Right? Now, some of our systems are more exploitive than others, but they all exploit. Education, the idea that you have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to a school to do training that once upon a time companies used to do themselves. So essentially, you're paying a company to train you to work for another company so that they don't have to. I mean, I can't think of it like that's if you sit there and think about it, you're sabotaging people's futures to be exploited. You have the medical industry and their pharmaceutical issues. That's another form of exploitation.
Yep.
You have the military, and they're like not so much here, but in the States, you could definitely see their influence in there. You can look at sports organizations. You can look at casinos. You can look at automobile companies. You can look. We have become a society that exploits each other. And as long as we're willing to tolerate that, I don't know if these problems go away.
And that's the problem is as Canadians, we're considered so nice compared to other parts of the world where they wouldn't accept some behavior. I remember the whole the funniest visual I had, again, being here in Ottawa, was the trucker convoy thing.
Yeah. No,
it happened in France. Did you see how quick France shut it down?
Well, no, it happened in France.
Oh, no.
Well, yes, no. Like here's the thing. Like if you look at France, they've had protests for the last 2 years. Like lots of them. Like I've seen fire hoses, tear gas.
Yeah.
The difference is like democracy up close and personal is ugly. Like no matter how you look at it, like when you're seeing fights for rights or government overreach, I personally think it's a protest. I don't necessarily think it was an act of terrorism. Some people do. I don't. But even if you did, like however you look at it, I think like for me, actually, that was the indication that they wouldn't because I used to do a immigration show. So when we're talking about releasing Afghan officials, that meant that the Canadian government had to talk to the Taliban about releasing Afghan refugees over here. So for me, the damning thing is you will talk to a terrorist organization who has a reputation of enslaving and killing people, but you won't talk to your own people about government rights. Now, whether it's a protest, right? That is damning to me, like to me personally.
There's so many things in social that I think we all probably think it depends on your experience. So when I said I worked at chapters, every day I walked to work 40 minutes to do my job. I had to walk through. There was a lot of street people I'd have to walk through every day. And I ran into a lot and I felt bad for them all the time. But, there's no fix. It's way better now, but back then it was pretty bad. We actually had to call the police a couple times to help some of and I saw we had some crazy situations working downtown. And it just, you felt horrible. And talk about, so I could tell you one story of the way the system works that's interesting is there was this person sleeping underneath a grate. That's how they kept warm at night in the wintertime. And they were across the street from the chapters. One morning, we're doing our thing, offloading a truck, see them get out of the grate, kind of watching what's going on, you know what I mean, as we're offloading. And all of a sudden, 2 other people come up and start beating the crap out of this person when they get out of the grate, right? And we're like, oh, no, right? So we first off tried to calm it down. Someone else called the cops. Send one in to call the cops, went to calm it down. Another guy came in to try and help calm down the situation. Police arrive. So while they're beating the crap out of each other, trying to get it calmed down, another homeless person comes in who knows the guy who came up from underneath the grate and's freaked out. The police come and grab him first, knowing obviously they knew who he was, and slam him against the car when he didn't do nothing. Right? It's like, what the heck's going on here? This guy didn't do anything, but because they knew probably something about him, had seen him around, he instantly got the blame for what was going on, or got accused right away, until we're all going, no, don't, what are you doing to this dude, right? So that's the way things can get misinterpreted pretty quick and easy.
Yeah.
People can overreact, or have to come in and analyze and do something wrong, and then it freaks everything out.
Oh, absolutely. No, like I said, it's definitely like I said, it's one of those things. Like personally, like I said, I think no matter how you look at it, I think the government system screwed up the convoy, in my opinion. Whatever you look at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They tried to trust it, is what happened. Like the mayor tried to trust it, that they'd said they'd leave.
Yeah.
What a silly. And he got the mayor got beaten up over it pretty bad. But if you listen to what he had to say, it made sense. He realized it was a government type problem, and he tried to keep them all to the right outside of Parliament, because he had all these people in Ottawa just trying to sleep at night.
Sure.
Nobody could sleep at night, with all the lights and all the other
No,
stuff
no,
going on and the
all the horn
noise.
honking for the first 10 days,
Yeah, so
especially.
there was a lot of mad people who lived in Ottawa who had nothing to do with it, right? And they
Yeah.
couldn't get anywhere; as everything was blocked off. So he was saying, "Yeah, we had them all over the downtown, and we let them go to this spot because they could protest there and not hurt the city so bad, right?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what
Yeah.
I got from what he said. So to me, if you look at it from logic, it makes sense. But boy, he got a lot of hatred from the local people. You know what I mean? He just
But
did the
what?
best he could with what he had, right?
What are you gonna do? I mean, here's the
Yeah.
other thing too. Let's just say they really had tried to bum rush these people earlier, and what if they decide? What if they had decided to just sabotage the trucks? I know, like, to get one truck out of there, just one, assuming you have competent people, that's 2 hours a truck.
Right.
2 hours.
Yeah.
You'd still be scooping up trucks right now, right?
Yeah. And then you have the problem that the towing companies did not support moving them. So these are
No,
the people, they were all like, these are my clients. You want me to
yeah,
go in
no,
and tow away my
you can't.
clients?
Well, that's the thing
I'll
is you
never
can't.
get work from them again. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that's
Like,
just it, and you can't blame them for that. Like,
no,
whether you want to like them or not, you can't
no.
blame them for that. And also the other thing too, it's just one of those. This was something I looked, like I said, from the outside looking in. Like, if people had started talking sooner, because here's the thing, the convoys now, there are food protests now all over that are very similar to this. The trucker
Oh, really?
protest was originally a New Delhi protest in India, which ironically Trudeau supported, which is the other thing too, right? Right? He
Yeah.
supported that one. And like I say, it's easy to support a democratic process that's uncomfortable when it's not in your backyard. When it's in your
Right.
backyard, it's a very different thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's ugly. And I say that with the knowledge. My dad lived in Detroit in the 60s. Like, he lived in the poor areas of Detroit in the 60s. Now those protests, they were met with tanks. Like, there's nothing like watching, like, and he told me the stories, right, of watching, like, the military marching in with these tanks that could blow away your whole neighborhood, because the houses were shit even then in Detroit, right? So, right, So that's the thing. So I have a different perspective. I understand why. I had friends in Ottawa who hated it. I had friends in Ottawa who were annoyed by the horns but understood it. And I had friends that it's somewhere fallen in the middle, right? So it was different. It's, again, but I'm also from the outside looking in. You had to live with it and
Yeah, and I
see
don't
it.
live downtown either, so the only effect it had on me was the overall perspective thing. Or if you wanted to go downtown to do something, you obviously could not. There was no
What?
way the downtown was crippled.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically.
yeah. You could walk in and out. That was all you could do.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. So,
yeah.
and that was, but again, that's what it
And you always think
was.
of local business too, right? A lot of local business conflict happened and shut
Yeah,
down, and it just there was the politics of a lot of things just got all
yeah.
over the place.
Yeah, and it was again. Some of them didn't shut down; they did okay, right? And they got punished after for serving these
Exactly.
people. They got
Yeah.
punished after for serving those people, which is weird to me, because what else are they supposed to do, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then there are people who just said, "We're just shutting down. We're not supporting you at all," and they lost money hand over fist because they shut down. So it's just like, you couldn't win no matter what you did.
No, no. I believe in life. There's lots of that where it's a no-win situation. You just got to do the best you can,
Yeah,
and
no,
if
that's
someone's going
it.
to judge you, someone's going to judge you,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And even, but again, and this is the important thing at the end of the day. And this is how I look at it. And then we'll end on a lighter note. We'll actually give you a
Yeah.
proper chance to do it properly here,
Ooh.
right? On what I said, like, the important thing is that we're just talking about it, right? There's no argument. There's no, like, you have your perspective, and you definitely and you were there. So, I mean, you definitely have a perspective. I don't. My perspective was, I basically watched the whole damn thing from Twitter. And I'm not talking Rebel News, just watching how it went minute by minute, because it was like nothing like this in Canada.
No,
So.
yeah, yeah. I watched a lot of it that way too, through streams and the videos on
Yeah,
it.
because
Yeah.
yeah, like watching what the news said and watching what that's, it's like, no, it's not that. But I can't blame people who were upset at the horn hawking. The first 10 days, I can't blame them.
No.
So,
Yeah. No. It's one of those things. Again, it's a no-win, and that's going back full circle to our previous conversation. That's the capital of Canada, right? the government's here. That's if the government wasn't here, if the capital, if this wasn't, the Parliament Hill wasn't here, then that wouldn't have happened here, right? No
No,
other,
it never would have.
I guess they tried Toronto, but it didn't last that long.
No,
But
no,
you know what I
no.
mean? Like,
They went to well. Oh, well, okay. Right, I won't go too deep. Their strategy was actually a game theory concept, which was actually really like from a military. They actually used game theory, which was really
Who's gonna go
interesting.
around?
Well, no, because they split the convoys up, right? They went to Windsor, like Coots. They went to Quebec City. They also went to Winnipeg. They also went to Toronto. They did go to Toronto. The thing about every other city, though, this is the other thing. They made it a point to end them as peacefully as possible, right? Because here's the thing, and then now this is the thing. I think Ottawa. That's why I think they did a really terrible job in the long run. Is this? I don't think if there's any more protests, those cities that ended them peacefully. That's why they ended them peacefully. They did not want this to ever happen again. So they wanted these to be peaceful. Ottawa didn't end it peacefully, and you've had nothing but protests since. And I think that is going to be the lot of the city.
Yeah. The protesting is quite common here in a lot of ways, but I don't know why I totally forgot about the Windsor part of it. I watched a lot of that too when that was
Windsor was
they were blocking the stuff coming through the border and stuff.
Yeah. So I had friends in the police force, and I had friends that were protesting. So it was interesting. That was why the police wanted to end it there as peacefully as possible, because they never wanted this to ever happen again. So they ended it peacefully. They figured the chances of it ever happening again like that would drop, right? If you met this with resistance, you would more likely encourage it in the long run.
I think the same mentality was in Ottawa, but it didn't work because of Parliament Hill and people were digging in more there, right? So it was more of a like, no, this is Parliament Hill. We got to dig in, because that's what the mayor tried to do, is end it peacefully so many different times, and that's why he kept failing. And that's what they actually fired the head of the police.
They fired the chief of police there. But see, me personally, and this is, and then we will end this. I honestly think if the federal government had actually tried talking to these people publicly, it might have been a different result.
Trudeau had an opportunity early on. I guess we're going Trudeau had his opportunity early on to do something, and he did. He took the high road of I'm better than this.
Well, I don't know if that was I think that was the road that kind of damned it, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's it. Like I said, whatever you think, whatever you guys think about it, that's, like I said, to me, that was the big mistake. Yeah,
and they got their voice across, right? They're upset, and to a degree, you know what I mean? Like, I don't agree with anything either way, unless it's hurting me in a sense. I know they're just tuning to do what they thought was right. And certain people get stuck in that, and then it becomes political, and then it becomes,
Well, anyway. Like I said, when you do anything like that, always ends up being a mess. There's no way around that. Once it gets to that level, it becomes a mess, and there's no nice way of doing it. So let's go to a lighter note to wrap this up, because while I don't mind, like I said, I have opinions for sure. It's not necessarily the way we want to end a podcast. So how about we do this? So is your goal? You talked about not making money necessarily, but telling your stories, right? So I guess the question I have for you is, because you did mention so many things you wanted to tell. Actually, I have two questions. The first one, I had a friend of mine doing like you did. She had so many stories in her head, but she found out she told them, it almost like relieved a pressure. Did that happen with you? Like when you started releasing them a little bit, it was like whatever was in your headspace became a little easier to deal with.
I think I can agree with that when I'm working on concepts. I can get so tangled up in a concept and work it out, and then once you do it, there's a degree of, even when I draw the art. So this is why I'm not a fast artist, but I can draw the art, get the concept out. I don't need to finish that piece of art, if that makes sense. Because I have books full of ideas, but I got the next idea already, and I need to go to that. So there's a degree of relief because I want to document it, because I have ideas all the time. I'll be sitting, having supper, lunch, or whatever. I'm like, all of a sudden I'll think, oh, John Lager in the Forsaken Future, the Dark Ace, this should happen and this should go this way. And that's like, oh yeah, that's a cool twist on something. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a relief, but it also creates more work sometimes because then you got to go document it and you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah. I'm just doing my due diligence, folks. We're getting to the point of wrapping this up. Here's the no, wrong link. Yeah. I need the Kickstarter. Yeah, I need the Kickstarter. But no, which leads to my second question is this. So because you have so many ideas, I know you don't necessarily need to finish per se, but there is something very satisfying about finishing a full story too. And I say that in terms of, I've had multiple book series and I've wrapped them up. It feels good, man. It's almost like it clears the palate so you can do other things. Right. Yeah. So I have to ask this because you have so many ideas. Is that like, have you had that palate cleanser moment of, I did it? Yes.
Yeah, so I this is going to sound, I think this is going to sound bizarre. I don't know, but maybe a creative person will. When I tell the story in my head, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I get to the end of it. And then I'm just trying to share it. So I've actually already enjoyed a lot of the Forsaken Future and what's going to happen in it. So to me, if that makes sense, it's like almost like now I want to share it with people, but it's so hard sometimes, right? Again, the Kickstarter itself, it's 55% funded, but a lot of them are, going to make more money doing things. They're going to, some things are funded in 24 hours, right? So I know this is a struggle now for the next month of trying to get the Kickstarter funded.
Well, I think this also comes with practice too. How many campaigns have you done?
This will be my third one.
When you get to like your 7th or 8th campaign, I think it will get easier for you. Like in terms of getting to that, yeah. Because you like the other thing about Kickstarter is you're building a community of creatives to support your work. And the first Kickstarter, it's like, and I know so next year I'm doing 3. The first one is going to be like, will I make it? Because I don't know. I don't know if I will the first time.
Yeah, and that's the hardest. And a lot of people don't. Have you done a Kickstarter before?
No, not. I've done a GoFundMe. I did a GoFundMe for my teeth years ago. Okay. But it's not the same. It's not the same thing. No,
it's so much work. And then there's the fight with the platform. I think this is what I like the least about it is this fight of working with the platform. And then there's certain things that can happen. You know what I mean? It's a great platform. Amazing. I've learned that, Indiegogo doesn't support as well as Kickstarter. So at least Kickstarter has a community where you can find new people easier. And I love it. I love doing it all, but it's so much work, right? To create your story, now you got to get your campaign page. Now you got to go, do a bunch of, I love talking to people about it and talking about, what I've experienced and how I create and that. But it's very draining at some points. I found the particularly the first one I fought and it failed. So I tried to do the Forsaken Future 3. I already had a 1 and 2 done. So this is really the remaster of issue 1. I totally changed up the story from what I've learned and evolved. And issue 3 is still sitting there waiting to go, which will probably now become issue 4. But I redid the story to make it more. So I did it more for like a light teen audience, more of a teenager audience. But now I'm trying to do it a little more mature, a little more grown up story, a little more going on, more than the kind of let's fight type thing, more of a action packed kind of adventure. But it's tricky because that first one failed, and I tried so hard. I was so exhausted at the end of it. I remember doing even when I did Raquel at the end, I was exhausted. I did 2 interviews that day, and I was just mentally just done. If that makes sense.
No, because there's a lot of pressure. Like that's the other thing too. Like there's a lot of because if you're doing this correctly, from what I can tell, most like really, really well put together Kickstarters are usually about a 3-month process, right? Right. First little bit is the getting your date right, like launching the date, promoting your date, promoting your project, promoting the date you're going to release it. Yeah, pre-launch stuff. Yeah. Then there's the actual campaign itself, which is which is how I mean I have enjoyed this conversation, but I don't know we would have had this if you weren't in the middle of your campaign, right? And that's the thing, you're advertising and you're hoping that people listening to this or watching this are inspired by it. Will take a look at your campaign, and then or in other shows you do as well. And then when it's all over, you got about a month after of doing all the post, which is just like, which isn't as strenuous on the visible end, but now you're dealing with the platform, you're dealing with people you're paying, you're dealing with all kinds of things that way.
Yeah, and shipping is such a big conversation in doing this stuff too. It's such, especially if you're Canadian with an American audience, shipping is a huge thing to try and figure out. I literally was sitting there for days with a scale. I still have the scale right here by me, trying to figure out shipping and going, even though as a shipper receiver, again, as we discussed, you know what I mean? But at least I knew what to do. I'd worked at Canada Post. I went and downloaded the PDF. I'm doing all this analysis, and people still aren't happy with the shipping sometimes. And I get it. It's expensive to try and figure out the shipping sometimes and to ship. But that's part of the process, right? So you have to spend your diligence on your shipping, or you're going to lose per item, right? You're going to lose per sale. And then the other person, you can give the other person a deal on the shipping, but then you're losing money. I just want them to be able to pay for whatever works, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like, so you can kind of pull some shortcuts, but it's a bitch. It's a big bitch, and you're waiting for the platform to give you the money, which is the other thing too. It's like, oh, please, dear God, give me the money.
Yeah,
and yeah, no, man, it's
pretty good. Kickstarter's pretty good with that. Like there was no hassles there getting the money, as long as the person has it. Of course, if that's what you're referring to, maybe
that's what I'm talking about. No, it's part of that whole process. Like you might hit your funding, but maybe you really don't, right?
No,
that's part of it, right?
There are people who have successful Kickstarters who can't run it as a business and will fail, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a successful Kickstarter. Then again, the shipping will kill them, or some other factor. Like for instance, I'm depending on artists. So if something happens to the artist, I would be in trouble at that point.
Yeah, no, I totally like. There's a lot that goes into these. And
people, it definitely, once you see it, you're like, oh man. But as you say, the first one was really, really rough. The second one was better. The third one, I already had a template made for all the images, and so now I can really use templates. I know what to expect with shipping. I have the PDF. I had the scale. You know what I mean? You're not going to buy a scale somewhere if you're going to try and use that. I have the mailers. So I think you're right. Over time, it becomes better. It's just a matter of the grind.
And it's a process, right? And like all processes, there's learning. Like I said, I'm going to be doing 3 next year, and one of the reasons is I'm almost expecting I'm not saying I'm expecting to fail the first time, but I know I'm going to learn a lot the first time, and then the second time it'll be easier, I hope, and then the third time will be even easier, I hope, and then the fourth time will be easier, I hope, right?
Yeah. And there's so many great people to learn from. And that's what's really cool about doing all these type of interviews. You get on panels sometimes with 3 or 4 of the creators. You can hear their struggles again with shipping, and you can go, aha, I better be on top of my shipping, right? I can expect this issue to come up, or you know what I mean? I want to make sure people are treated right, but I don't want to mess myself up at the same time, right? If I start losing money per item, I've now paid an artist, a colorist. I'm getting paid nothing. And then now I'm losing money on shipping on top of it all, and then it can become a mess. But plan it right, you learn, and then you can
and eventually you will get to the point where you will see money for it too. Now maybe
you
right.
have to plan your rewards right. If you don't plan your rewards right, you could end up.
Oh, that's what ends that I've seen that end campaigns too. Like there's like you got all these cool bags and whistles and toys, and oh my god.
So I've backed about 50 campaigns now. I could say about 5 of those I backed them trying to support them, but realizing that they probably have no clue what the cost of publishing is. Like, these people have big dreams, and I love it. I love passion and creativity and all that, but you can tell they don't have the understanding that to print a comic book, you're probably going to be into it for about $5. You know what I mean? You're not printing thousands of these and getting a cheap price. Odds are Canadian, you're probably into it around $5. So you can't sell it for $5 with shipping, or $7.
No.
You know what I mean?
So even a couple of years ago, 2019, I was looking at releasing one of my first campaigns, a comic. I look at the cost of that. It's like, it's going to be $8 a book, realistically. And I'm like, well, I don't think I can actually go to a comic shop and do this, because we'll both laugh, but it'll be a despairing laugh, because it'll be just one of those.
Yeah.
Like,
I had that a couple of weeks ago, actually. Yes.
yeah. Because you're both laughing. If they get it, they totally get it. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like, I can't do it. Now, it's more likely to happen today. You might be able to get that. But even so, it is brutal. It is, like I said, and that's just, by the way, and we are missing out on stuff, folks. Like, we're not talking about all the juicy details. We're just like, this is the reality. But in spite of everything we just said, it is possible to do very well with these. Treat them like a business, and treat them with the respect that, and get your stuff out there, because you never know. Whitefire Comics might be the next big thing, and that could be literally happen. Jazz hands.
You know, yeah. Oh no, jazz hands shake. Oh, you can't do that. It'll end the show.
So, Doran, I think we've had an interview here. It was pretty fun chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been a great time. Yeah, it was nice meeting you, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I've got to meet quite a few great people doing this, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
and a fellow Canadian.
Well, yeah, no. Hey, listen. So this is like, and the Canadians are some of the most talented people in the world. Honest to God, like, I'm looking at some of the stuff you've done in the back there, whether you've drawn them yourself or done it, like, you have put an incredible amount of work into what you do, and honestly, you should be applauded for it. Unfortunately, this is the one thing about our country that really, I think, truly does suck. We tend not to realize just how good of people we have in our own environment that do wonderful things like you do. It's not just you. There's lots of great talented people out there.
Yeah.
And honestly, Canadians are the absolute worst at recognizing just how great their people really are. We say we're the number one. We have this ego about, like, we're the best country to live in. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant. That is a concept. But what we really do not take enough opportunity to do is realize we have some of the best people too. It's actually, that's the honest, truest secret, is there's great people everywhere, and you just have to, but you have to give them their due. And very rarely do Canadians do that with their own people.
Yeah, it's always tricky, but that's what's so great about the way the world's opened up now, and that's what's so great about a platform like Kickstarter. Is now it becomes more about finding those indie comic people out there, just like at a con. It can be quiet at a con when I'm there, then all of a sudden, boom, it's a whole bunch of indie guys or girls, and it's like, oh, whoa, yeah, and they're willing to pay the $10 for the comic, right? Over the, you know what I mean? And they're all excited. Like, my collector's edition when I was at FanaticCon was selling more than the standard edition, like not standard, but my Finder's Keeping. And it's just like, they're just into it. They get it. You know what I mean? If I can find all those, that's what I think I got to on Kickstarter. You just got to find the ones that like what you like. Like in the case of the Forsaken Future, the sci-fi, they have to like a dark future sci-fi series, and that's the trick, is to find those people.
Actually, and I have a suggestion for you for next year. If you want to actually look for those people, would you like the suggestion?
Sure, I'm always open to suggestions. Yeah.
GamerCons.
Oh, yeah. And some of them are mixed, like at HellCons. So I'm originally from Nova Scotia. HellCon's bigger, but a lot of them do have gamer sides to it too.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. We mentioned Dungeons and Dragons earlier. Here's the thing. People, okay, my Alice in Wonderland series. Do you know where I want to launch the book? Honestly, theaters. Not like movie theaters, but actual like theaters. And why? Because theater people, I think, will dig an Alice in Wonderland Greek tragedy. I think they will dig that, right?
Yeah.
You have a science fiction concept that's really fun. Now, who might like that? People that like Warhammer, people that like Dungeons and Dragons, people that like Shadowrun, people that like worlds they can escape into. I think that is where you go. You don't necessarily go. I'm not saying you don't go to the comic shop, but I'm just thinking, who else likes this kind of thing?
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And there's so many Facebook groups. Like I just thought, I don't know why I didn't think of this till yesterday, but I actually searched for sci-fi on Facebook.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden
yeah,
there's all these groups that I'm like, oh my God, here's a whole ton of people I haven't even talked to that,
yeah,
that I could
yeah,
easily
and
get a hold of. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and then you build, like I said, build your community wherever your community is. So, all right, we
I bet you we
apparently.
could talk all day. I think we're those type of guys. We got
Oh
a
no,
lot
no,
we could talk
dude. I hope you come back when you actually do a drink and draw with me at some point, since you draw stuff too.
about.
Would you like to do that?
A what?
A drink and draw.
Yeah, I've done a couple draw streams with the madness and pop
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I call them. I call them drink and draws. We come in, we have drink. We'll sit and chat and we'll write and we'll draw shit
Okay.
and we'll just hang out. But it's
Yeah, yeah.
slightly more casual than this. All this was pretty casual. It's slightly more casual than this, right? But we show off our drawings and we have a good time. So if you want to do
Cool.
that at some point, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, just send me an invite whenever. Yeah, if you need someone to talk to at some point, if you have cancellations as well, I'm always around. We
Yeah.
can talk about whatever.
Yeah, okay. So for those watching, those listening, Forsaken Future is available now on Kickstarter. You can definitely click on the link I'm just putting on here. Whitefirecomics.com is where one can find Doran. I'm going to do this because he's already did this, and then we'll have Jazz hand this the way out. And to everybody else, yeah, go check out the Kickstarter. Check out Doran. He is a really cool dude. And to everybody else, I also do. Hold on a second here. I do advertising service. I make videos, audio, words, and pictures for projects and people. So you can definitely check out a look at that right there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will do it for this episode of Just Joshing, this crazy wild ride. Doran had to actually take over the show for a little bit. So tomorrow, awesome. I have YA author Zini Quinox on the show. And then in 2 days, Marissa Mayer, #1 New York Times bestselling author, will be the first of 2 streams. All right, on Thursday to commemorate my 8th anniversary going into year 9. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining dark. Thank you, Doran, for being an awesome guest. And I'll see you guys all next time. Jazz hands it, buddy. Jazz hands.
Poof.